Airy Planning Commission meeting for the month of October. It is October 27th, 7:30 PM. I'm opening this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as always, I welcome everyone who took time out of their evening to come down here and join the Planning Commission in its agenda tonight. And I also applaud those who are taking the time at home to watch the live stream provided by Carroll Media Center. And thanks to CMC for their support for all of our meetings in the virtual stream. The first order of business after the Pledge of Allegiance is the approval of our minutes from the last meeting on September 29th. Every commissioner has a copy of the minutes provided by the town staff. And as I always try to do, I'll pause for you to reflect on any notes or edits you may have written in your review of those over the past few days. We were busy last week with some signage efforts and with continuing discussions of annexation and a few other items. So with that pause, I'm looking for a motion to either approve or disapprove the minutes from the September 29th meeting.
I'll move to accept them.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Butts to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Hadley. Is there any discussion, edits, or amendments desired by the commissioners for the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? The minutes from the September meeting are passed, and I will sign those and give them to you, Deborah, at the end of the meeting. That's why we have a town engineer.
I wasn't going to speak.
Thank you, Barney, sincerely. The next area on the agenda, I'm going to make a modification from what you may have in your handout in collecting the material up here. We typically caveat the public comment section of any commission meeting by asking that the comments be restricted to items not on the agenda. I am going to remove that restriction in a discussion before tonight with the town attorney. That doesn't require a motion or an acceptance. It's administrative action by the chair, and I'm making that change. So what I'm saying is I'm opening up public comment section now for anything you wish to discuss. So there's no caveat as to restriction to items not on the agenda. So going forward, could I quickly just see a show of hands of those interested in coming to the microphone in your front left? A show of hands? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Okay. The rules that I ask that you abide by is that there will be a 3-minute limit. There will be a timer here on your front right below Mr. Breeding that will help you gauge how much time you have remaining. When you get down to about 30 seconds, I'm going to interrupt you and remind you need to wrap up. I'll do that respectfully. I also want to make mention of, because we have gotten feedback in the past, that as you speak, please don't regard us having our heads down in writing as disrespect for your comments. It's simply because we're writing down your comments. And so we all just want you to know that we are listening if we're not maintaining eye contact. We're just trying to be diligent in capturing the sentiment of your valuable public comment. So it's just something I want everybody to understand. So with that, I'll begin, and you can either form a line or one by one. I think I saw 4 hands. There was a gentleman here in the second row. I welcome you to lead off for us. Thank you.
How you doing? My name is Alvin Zumbrun. I'm a Mount Airy resident. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak to you guys. I am in favor of the field project off of Watersville Road. more fields is better for the kids. I have two kids, two boys, 4 and 6-year-old, and the more fields we have, the better. To get them away from screens and to have more outdoor activities seems like a win-win for everybody. Not only is it good for the kids, I mean, there's going to be, from what my understanding is, there'll be walking parks, there'll be a playground for kids, there's a family entertainment area there, not only with the field, so the whole family can be there to access this facility. So that's a big positive to bring everybody together in the family. My second point is the business side of it. Bring a lot of business to the Mount Airy town. My example, so I live in the Howard County side of Mount Airy, and we use the Western Regional Park a lot. And the Rosie's and Walker's, those restaurants, on Saturday and Sunday is packed. I mean, it's so many people in there. You can see all the kids' uniforms coming together after the game, before the game, getting a coffee before the game, getting lunch after the game, getting dinner after a game. So to me, it's just you're going to have a little more volume. I understand there's the traffic side of things, but it seems like that's, big picture, that's a very small, minor inconvenience for what you're going to get for a 50-acre sports complex with pickleball, the soccer fields, the baseball fields. I mean, I just like the walking park as well. You can take your dog around there while your kids are playing. So that's kind of just my piece of it, though. I'm a major proponent for this project, so that's all I have to say. I appreciate the time, though, to give me time to speak, so thank you.
Thank you, Alfred. I'm,
Alvin. Alfred, that was my second choice than my parents.
Gotcha, my bad. There was another gentleman in the back row with a hand up. Please come forward. And I will do a little better on starting the clock. And again, as this gentleman did, and thank you for doing that, all I need is your name and whether you are or are not a town resident. I don't need an address.
Thank you. My name is Steve Lichtman. I am not a town resident, but as you may remember, I am in the house that is immediately adjoining this property. I am right next door. There are several issues with the ballpark that I have a problem with, one of which Alvin actually just sort of addressed. He says this would be great for the kids to come play. This isn't that kind of a facility. This isn't the facility where the neighborhood kids are going to come after school, grab their glove and their bat and a ball, and go up there and hit the ball around on the field. These are rental fields. These are going to be fields, as far as I understand, where teams and leagues will be renting this property, renting the fields for a game. Those fields will be open for those, but it's not going to be sort of a public place for the neighborhood kids to come play. We were talking about adding green space to the town. Well, that's fine. It's going to be green, but it's not going to be accessible for everybody. Good example. Again, I live next door to where this is going to be. If I get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and I want to go for a walk on the trail, I don't think that's going to happen. My understanding is those gates are going to be locked until the facility opens. So this isn't going to be, I can just show up and like it's a public park. It's a private property. And okay, it's going to be a private property. I'm concerned about the noise where I live and where some of the other neighbors immediately adjoining the property and the neighbors in Nottingham are. It's not going to be quiet. Even though they said there's not going to be a public address system, you're still going to hear cheering. One kid hits a home run on field 1, yay! Okay, and 2 minutes later, another kid gets a double play on field 4, yay! We're going to hear all this cheering, and that's going to go on all afternoon and well into the evening, and we're all going to hear that. I do have a concern also about the traffic situation. Thank you. Last time they mentioned there was going to be up to 300 additional cars per hour. That's one car every 12 seconds. That's an awful lot of traffic. The other thing is, they are building a parking lot with 1,135 parking spaces. At some point, they're expecting that lot to be full or pretty near full, even if it's only 1,000 cars in the parking lot. They're all going to want to leave at once.
Yes, sir.
My comments.
Thank you, Steve, and I got it right that time.
You did.
Okay.
I'm not Alvin.
Yeah, no. I, or Alfred. The gentleman in the second row with the sweater? Yeah. Yes, sir. You're next. And again, name and whether you are or are not a town resident.
My name is Ted Nettles, and I am not a resident of Mount Airy, but I'm very opposed to this ball field for a lot of the same reasons he said. This is a money-making thing for the people that are going to build this. This is not any benefit to the town of Mount Airy. This thing is locked up. The parking lot for 1,100 cars, ground is valuable. Why are you going to put a 1,100 car parking lot in there if you're not going to use the 1,100 car parking lot? If it helped the city and it was open for the kids, I'd be fine for that. But the traffic is astronomical now on Watersville. When you come out to 27 to go down, there's no directional light to make a left-hand turn. Only 8 cars can stock up there before you're blocking the street back here. I had an experience when they had the Oktoberfest and the yard sale. I sat through that light 9 times in order to make a left-hand turn. Traffic was all the way back almost to Nottingham. And it's just, I don't think it's in the best interest of Mount Airy to have this. The traffic, if you have an accident on 70 anything, Twin Arch is going to be packed, 144 is going to be packed. Everybody's going to be leaving there at the same time. And on the weekends, they're going to have tournaments, which are all over the place. I don't think it's a good benefit to Mount Airy at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted. My left over here against the wall, yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Jason Gasway. I'm not a resident of Mount Airy. I am for the,
Jason, could you step up to the mic a little?
oh, sorry. Is that better? I am for the complex being built. I've been a high school baseball coach for over 20 years, and I've coached travel baseball for about 15 years now. So I kind of understand kind of the landscape of things when it comes to, athletics. And one of the biggest issues that we have in this region, not just Carroll County or Mount Airy, is the lack of access to quality fields. There are very, very few fields, much less quality fields. And our coaches, our volunteers are going out there, they're paying money to rent fields, and yet they also have to work on these fields to make them safe for our young kids to play. Having a facility like this where coaches now get to solely focus on making it a positive experience for our kids, making them better, and teaching them the skills and the values that you learn through sports, and solely have to worry about that because they just show up to a field and it's already ready. They don't have to worry about it. There's fewer rainouts. It's just, to me, as a parent and as a coach, it's amazing for that aspect. And you're gonna see a sense of community. You're gonna have a lot of people going there every week. I remember growing up as a kid and having places like Kelly Park and Morris and Walker Park, and it was just, you were there all the time with the same people, and it just grew a sense of community. And with the travel aspect of it, I've been to tournaments all over the country. I've been to East Cobb, which is a big one down in Georgia. I've been to Diamond Nation. I've been to Sports at the Beach, where they have various complexes like this. And I've never once had a problem getting out of those facilities at those tournaments. Going out to get something to eat for 15, 20 minutes, come back for my next game. Going home, getting there for games. I've never had an issue. So that's been my experience, being directly involved with facilities like this. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Did I see another hand of interest? In the very back row, there we go. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for hearing me. My name is Courtney Moore. I am not a town resident. I'm a Bottler Road resident. Our family had been involved in MEA from 1998 until 2008, with my son playing baseball and soccer, my husband coaching, and myself keeping the book, being a team mom, running concessions, you know, the usual stuff. In that 10 years, that was when Mount Airy was at its greatest growth. That's when we had an entire second grade in portables. We had to build a new elementary school to handle the Carroll County side. Never once in that period of time did my son have a practice or a game that was not on a town field. The only time we went anywhere else was in the summer when he played the travel team. The only time we left for soccer, we went to National Pike Park. What is it, 5 minutes west? No one felt inconvenienced. No one felt like that was a big burden. When my son started high school, we started a travel program for soccer. We were on a nationally ranked team. We went up and down the East Coast playing regional games, playing tournaments, and preparing for college, to be quite honest, with college showcases. I wanted to share that experience for you. When you go into a tournament setting, the timetable is very tight. We would take a cooler, we would bring snacks, we would buy food from the concession stand. It was very rare that we could actually go out and grab a meal, and if we could, it would be something very fast, like Panera or Chick-fil-A. Quite honestly, when we left, we went back to our lodging, and then we would find a restaurant to eat near our lodging. That is an issue for us. We have no lodging in Mount Airy. So these people that supposedly are going to come and bring us all this money, if they are coming to a tournament that's a multiple-day tournament and they have to travel, they will be going somewhere else to stay, and they will be spending their dollars there. It's not necessarily going to be the economic boom that it was presented to us at the last meeting. And maybe that's okay, because if you have 1,100 cars in that parking lot and they all descend on our town at once to try to get something to eat, the optics are going to be really bad, and Mount Airy is not going to look great. And that's going to be a problem, too, for our town. The master plan says that we're really focused now, Rec and Parks, is on coming up with inclusive community activities. We're not really field-focused anymore, so I saw. We have a park that is supposed to be coming at Harrison-Lashire that would have its own interest exit onto 27 with a light that's already there that would be a community park. Please consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Courtney. Any other desired, right here in front? And I assure you, I'll get to everybody. Go ahead, right here in front. Again, name and whether you are or are not a town resident, please.
My name is Marshall Payne Gasway. I'm a town resident, and I would echo what Courtney has shared in the event that we have been shared a lot of information. However, some of it may have been somewhat skewed to actually get started that, yes, this is not a family park as folks are thinking that it may be. It is actually going to be a place where people will be renting the space. They've already talked about having Nike camps come in. So if you think that you're actually going to get out there and play on the courts or do something other else, that's not what this is all about. They've also talked about how it's going to bring in $185 for the day folks and $850 for those at night. We don't have any nighttime accommodations. There was an avoidance about the traffic issue. And for those of you all who do not live on Wardersville, I do reside off of Wardersville in Nottingham. There was multiple conversations about the traffic at Twin Arch, that is already an issue. There should not, according to their person who did the research on the traffic, there should not be a problem with traffic on Wardersville and 27. We talked about how there's going to be expansion on 27, that the lanes are going to be widened. However, we all know, if you're not aware, 32 took quite a while to make that happen. So a lot of the things that are being shared are not necessarily in the best interest of Mount Airy. When you look back at the report, there was a conversation about that there was the request for the fields. 61.6% of the individuals wanted walking fields and opportunities for everyone to be able to take advantage of. This project is not going to necessarily be open to everyone. In addition, we talk about, they're wanting annexation for the water. If we look at the PFCs already that we're dealing with, I understand from the last meeting that one of the wells was partially down, that we may not have all of our wells operating. So we want to take all those things into consideration as well. In the last meeting, we also heard in terms of the parking situation. We did bring to light that they were asking for about 1,100 parking spaces, 1,135 parking spaces. But at one point in the conversation, they were only expecting 10 different visitors for each of those fields. There seems to be some sort of discrepancy. However, if you think about what they've shown us in terms of what's comparable, you've got a number of other areas such as Spooky Nook, which actually has about 1,500 spaces, which is located in Pennsylvania. Even they have some of their own challenges. So again, there are lots of different things that we need to be mindful of, because this is not a park that everyone's going to have access to. There was never any sort of understanding or concession understanding that the traffic on Watersville, that's a problem. And we already know that we have traffic issues as they exist already in Mount Airy.
Yes,
So I am
ma'am.
concerned about that.
If I could wrap it up, please.
All right, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. And correct me if I'm wrong, Marge, was it?
Marshall.
Marshall, thank you. Thank you. Any other public comment? This gentleman here, right in front, thank you. Okay,
Brian Trigger.
hold tight, yeah.
That's all right, all good.
They gave me this high tech and I'm,
Thanks. Brian Trigger, I live in Nottingham. I'm not opposed to the park. The way I kind of look at this, I feel eventually something's going to happen with that piece of property. I'd rather have the sports complex than houses and townhomes going on there. And I think the business will provide economics to the city in terms of, I don't know how property taxes are probably eventually going to go up, or water's going to go up. And with the city taxing this piece of property and generating revenue from that, that can also lessen that burden on us citizens. But I'm for the project.
thank you, Brian. Another hand in the back row.
And I'm Lisa Shekels. No, I'm not in the town, but I am adjacent to this property. I am opposed to it. I am totally not for it. I have a son. He's played for county. He's played Maya. He's played Winfield. We had no problems with football, baseball, any sports. My niece, she played softball. We did travel. We had no problems finding fields. We had no problems with any of the fields that the town offered. The problem with Watersville that people aren't understanding is, yes, there is way too much traffic. I brought up the morning, they opposed it and said, no, there's not going to be that much traffic. I took pictures coming home from work during rush hour, since they said it was going to be evening time at 6:15, sitting at Watkins Park waiting for the light at Watersville Road to be able to make a right-hand turn. 15 minutes. I photographed it from the time in my car. People aren't understanding this is for private use, not personal. I have a property there. Am I going to trust that there aren't going to be kids during this game wandering off, playing in the fields, affecting our properties on these trails? I'm very concerned. I have farm animals. Another thing that I'm totally against, that I'd like to know where their study of the sound. I have neighbors in front. They can be out on their front porch. I'm out on my front porch. I can hear them clearly. Maybe I can't make out exactly what they're saying, but I can hear them. I can hear everybody at Maya when they're playing their games. Carnival's going on. I hear the bands going. Totally against it. We all have lives outside of 10, 11 o'clock with these being here. Traffic is awful, and it will continue to be. I don't see how this is going to benefit the town with the restaurants and all. It's already a very small 2-lane road. I'd like to know how they're going to access 300 vehicles an hour when you already have a hard enough time getting in and out of your driveway when you're off the property, when you're off this two-lane road. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you, and I believe it was Nisha, is it?
Lisa.
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 I-
Yeah.
I-
State your name clearly. Yeah.
I'm starting to doubt my name. Okay, another hand perhaps, another comment? Right here in front, please.
Hi, I'm Brandy Weiss. I am not a town resident, but I do live on West Watersville Road. My husband and I are against this proposal for a number of reasons that have already been talked about here tonight. The traffic is already overwhelmed in our town, not just at Watersville and 27, but also Twin Arch, also all the way down to 70. What's going to happen when we're having some sort of activity going on at this facility if it gets built during school hours, when traffic even gets worse at that intersection? Okay. I understand that kids need a place to play, but I really think that the people who are thinking that this is an opportunity for our community to use this facility, I think that's incorrect. I think this is really a pay-as-you-go, and I'm not certain that our local teams will be able to afford to play there. That's all I had.
Thank you very much. Another interested in public comment? Right here in front.
Hello, Amanda Everett. I am a resident of Mount Airy. I live in Nottingham. I would echo a lot of the concerns. I am not for this project. I'd echo concerns on traffic on already very busy roads. One of my concerns is if this project moves forward, if things are annexed and water and sewer is supplied, and something changes with this project, maybe in a year after construction or multiple years down the road, does that change now and they want to sell the land? What does that mean? Does that actually open us up, not for playing fields, but for a completely different project? I don't know the answer to that, but it's something I hope this group will consider. But I do have very big concerns on traffic, and I would echo the sentiment on it's a pay for play. So, I have kids who play Maya and other teams, and I love the idea of it being, from a very high level across the street, but I don't believe that's what this is. These are tournaments and major competitions, and I think the majority of the folks coming here are going to be coming from out of town, and I don't believe, as an example, my son's fourth grade soccer team would be able to, would be able to afford to play there. I don't think that's who's going to be there. I think it's going to be folks from out of town who could just as easily go to Frederick or Germantown or Columbia. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other hands? Let me get the gentleman in the back corner, and then you'll be next, if that's fair.
I was going to ask if we were going to have time as the petitioners to talk at all, if we weren't aware.
Yeah, the applicant.
Tim Baker?
Tim Parks, I'm Brian McKenna.
You're Brian, okay. No, I'm interested in public comment right now. So let's get through that first. I will address a potential interaction with the petitioner, but not at this point. So I will get to what I think will answer your question, but not at the public comment section. I'm more interested in the residents and those in the nearby county area for their input for tonight, if that's fair to you. And bear with me, I think what I'm going to do later will prove fair to you in your petitioner status, if that's, just be patient, I guess I'm saying. Great, okay, and so the gentleman that was in the corner is up here now. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryan. I'm a resident of Mount Airy. I live with my father in the back corner in Nottingham. And I wanted to present another facet to this argument against the baseball field, the complex. Light pollution. Living in Nottingham, it's not dark as the country, but it's definitely not as bright as the city. We can still see stars at night. And not too long ago, we were able to see the aurora borealis that came through Mount Airy. And it was incredible to see. I have a 3-year-old nephew who loved gazing at it. He likes looking at the moon and the stars. And having a baseball field right next to a suburban neighborhood like this, I worry about the light pollution and what that might remove from the quality of life at night for the town of Mount Airy. These lights are, I would imagine, incredibly bright to the point where they could probably give you a tan in the dead of the dark. But Mount Airy is a small town, and I like the small town feel of Mount Airy, and I just don't know if the residents here are ready for big city level light pollution. And that's all I have to say about that. Have a great evening.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else in the very back row, I think, with the ball cap on? Thank you. Name and whether you are or are not a resident of the town, please.
Matt Kugel, make sure you got that. I am a resident. I live in Nottingham, and my backyard will look right onto this complex. We moved here about 4 years ago. Great view back there at that field, but it's not about that. If you can't tell, I'm already a sports guy. I coach all of my kids. Yesterday, I coached 4 games. Love sports. My kids have been in my baseball, football, Winfield, all of the area programs. Sports are great. They will help out the economy, but this will not help out the economy. This will hurt this area. I've been to so many tournaments all over the country, different states, and this is what it is. It's tournaments every single weekend. Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, even Mondays, you will not be able to get in and out of our neighborhood or anywhere along Watersville Road. The infrastructure is not going to be there. That road can't handle it. The lights can't handle it. Anywhere in rush hour traffic between 4 and 5:30 from the lights at Twin Arch Road up to Watersville, we sit in traffic. Imagine that with baseball, 300 cars an hour, you're going to be in a standstill line. Another recent event, the thing that hit the overpass, how horrible was that? How many accidents have we had on 70 in the last 6 months where it's been a fatal injury and all of the traffic is diverted through Watersville? That's going to be every single weekend for a baseball tournament from May until October. If they have indoor facilities, it will continue on. It's just too much. It needs to go to an area that has a hotel. Some people may go to Upper Deck, but that's just going to be about it. There's going to be no other restaurants that are going to help. The economy is not going to be sustained here with this baseball facility. Thank you.
Gotcha. Thank you, Matt. I got it. Any further public comment interest? A hand in the air. I see 2. Let me go with the gentleman in the very rear row. Or he's deferring? Okay.
We negotiated.
You negotiate, okay. And then if I may cut it off with the gentleman that was in the row ahead of you that I also saw your hands, I think with that gentleman there. Okay, so again, name and whether you are a resident, sir.
Todd Moore, and I am not a resident. I am just on the outside, but we've been here in Mount Airy for the last 20-plus years, coming up on 30 years now. So my wife already talked about our experience with Maya Baseball and the sports programs here. Something that I hadn't really thought about when we were first putting together the criteria discussion about quality of life and things of that nature came to point for me last time when Barney was talking about the wells and the PFAS levels. During the presentation last time, I also then saw that we were talking about lots of turf fields. Now, my understanding with the composition of materials related to turf ball fields is that there's a high probability that we will have leaching, potentially for PFAS, increased levels in our water supply. So I don't know if this is truly going to be the case or not, but it is now a concern of mine for this project. And it wasn't part of things that we initially considered for review and annexation discussion. So I just wanted to put that out as a possibility for something maybe to be explored. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. And then again, the gentleman, yes, in the vest.
Good evening. My name is Brian Compton. I am not a town resident, but I'm here kind of wearing 2 hats. One, I am a resident who lives close to the intersection where these ball fields are projected to be. I do acknowledge that based on the current zoning through some BZA whatnot, they can still have what they're planning on having, but maybe not to the extent that it would occur if they were to be annexed. The infrastructure there for traffic isn't ready for it. We've all known that the state doesn't have any intent of widening it out for many, many years. Like some of my fellow neighbors here, it is, I mean, it's not a quick and easy ride in the evenings coming up north to make the right on Watersville. And on the back roads, Bottler Road, Ronquil's Road, they aren't set up whatsoever to take any cut-through traffic. I mean, Ronquil's Road cuts down to basically a one-lane road up to Shawandon. So I can only hope that the town here would take a look at that and, of course, task them and whatever traffic study would be necessary to figure out what could and couldn't happen there. My second hat is I'm here on behalf of MAYA. I'm the president of MAYA. I've been with MAYA for over 20 years, been a president over 10 years. Every time the town has someone coming in here and looking to have land annexed by the town, it was always kind of frustrating to hear that, we might not do it because of one reason or another, and then our program's always like, well, great, let's see what the town can get out of it for fields for our kids in the community. And to have some of that, of course, the development gets shot down and whatnot, no big deal. But it was always in our best interest that when the town got the land, then we knew as the nonprofit local program that we were given some type of a priority use with that land. We knew that we were getting the field space from the land. What I'm interested to find out from this new project that they're looking at is what we may get out of it. There's no doubt we need fields. We've been coming to the town for years and years and years. I task every one of my commissioners to do the best they can with managing what space they have, whether it be a field or facility. And by all means, we're getting it done. Some folks in here said, yeah, we've never had to miss a practice. What they fail to realize is that they're only getting one practice a week because we don't have the fields. But we're doubling up and giving them a 90-minute practice or a 70-minute practice, where if we had an extra field, it's not that we could field more participants, it's just that we could give them what our neighboring sports programs are giving their participants.
30 seconds.
We've always needed more fields. It would be interesting to find out what we, as a program, could get from this, some type of a priority use, but we can't afford to pay for them. We're already paying for more than we can really afford to now, and any cost would get just pushed out to the parents who are already balking at, the high cost of participating in these fields. But, I would task the planning board here and, of course, the county to figure out what could and couldn't be used, and hopefully it works for everybody. Thank you.
And thank you, Brian. And just to be sure, I believe your sentiment is against the annexation. Is that accurate?
Knowing what I know now, I'm borderline. I mean, our program hasn't even discussed it internally. There's not enough information, but I've got some other folks here from MAYA. It's just the questions that I'm fielding about, hey, how much field space are you going to get?
I see. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
That hasn't been presented to us, so I don't know if there's any benefit to our program.
I got you. Thank you. And thank you for the clarity. So with that, I'm going to close the public comment section. I do, and I'll mention this perhaps in a moment when we open the annexation item on our agenda, I do want at this point to assure all the public, including those that are viewing live stream, that when this commission's recommendation reaches the council will introduce our recommendation into their proceedings at some council meeting that they decide, perhaps December, perhaps January. But when that introduction is made, then the council will also be required to set a public notice for a public hearing. So again, I'm just saying that, and that your voices don't end tonight with Ralph Gant saying, I'm closing this session. Because the decision authority on this annexation, which is perhaps, in my regard, any municipality or town's decision authority, broadening the borders of a town is probably at the pinnacle of a decision for the elected council. I mean, think about it. You're broadening the town's borders. So it's a very serious discussion, and in that discussion, of course, a public hearing is required. Our code requires it. Nonetheless, we're going to have it. So again, just emphasizing, there is going to be another opportunity for public interaction with the elected officials when it comes time for them to deliberate on the petition and on our recommendation. Fair enough? So I'm just making sure everybody is informed of that. So with public comments closed, I now turn to the agenda item on our Frederick County Planner interaction with this commission. For those that are new to the commission's operations, because we sit astride two counties, the town staff interacts with both Westminster for Carroll County business that may affect the town, and also interacts with Frederick County with business that affects the town, of course, specific to those sides of the town. And so we begin tonight with the input that we have from the Carroll County Westminster planning area. And unfortunately for the Carroll County folks, we have not had a liaison, an in-person a representative from the county for all matters that could affect the town of Mount Airy. But what they do, their staff puts together a one-pager or occasionally a two-pager of what they believe are key topics. That comes to Mr. Breeding, who is our town planner and administrator. And so with that opening, John, is there anything notable in the information they provided tonight?
No, it's just talking about the fall amendments, the 2025 amendments for the town. They also talked about a couple of text amendments that were happening, and then also the master plan updates. There's multiple hearings that they're having to discuss how Carroll County is moving ahead with their comprehensive plan. And again, if anybody is interested in a copy of this report, I can get that to them on request. I think we ran out of copies out front, but for some reason, somebody needs one. If you guys have any questions, I might be able to answer, or I can reach back out to Carroll County to get answers for you.
Gotcha. And so I think the key thrust from Ralph Gant's standpoint is this continues to let us know from the Carroll County perspective, they're working now hard on their new master plan. And they have to go through all the work that this commission had to do over a period of 18 months to decide natural resources, municipal growth area, zoning, yada, yada. So, so they're busy like we just were. So that's good information. What I'd like to do is just simply encourage the commissioners as you review this, if you have any questions, just as John opened himself to any emails, to get more specifics, then I would close this portion of the Carroll County, unless you had.
I was just going to add that this is also available online through the town website on the Planning Commission. You can go into the date and look at posted agendas.
Gotcha.
And all this information is on the town website.
Gotcha, thank you. Fortunately for Frederick County, we have Miss Vanessa Moreno. And Ms. Moreno has been just exemplary with, again, the purpose of her role in interacting with us and the town staff is to keep us informed of those critical items that kind of push toward the town. We have in the past, if it's fair, just to elaborate further, Vanessa, we have this collective body of 7 commissioners have really tried to focus on the events occurring nearby Newmarket, okay? Within Frederick County. Newmarket, I think, is going through a boon. A young lady earlier talked about, you know, when Mount Airy was really exploding. I'm kind of seeing the same thing now evolving over the Newmarket region. And because of their proximity, we're reasonably concerned about what's that going to imply with regard to services that they may come this way to get versus going westward to Frederick City, if that's fair. So Vanessa, welcome tonight.
Thank you. So yeah, just a couple of updates from the county side. We just wrapped up our third quarter residential development pipeline. And so with that, we kind of hope to, we use as a tool to track and monitor the development projects throughout the county and municipalities, just for some background information. In the Lake Linganore and Eagle Head PUD, the planned unit development area, there are currently 1,400 planned units in the pipeline. And that is not including Cromwell, Cherry Hill, and, Cherry Run and Gordon Mill. Those 3 projects encompass around 1,800. And I know we like to keep track of those specific projects, but I checked in with our development review planner, and there are currently no updates for Cherry Run or any of those major projects at this time. And then we recently just wrapped up our housing element, and that was approved for a 60-day review from our planning commission. So that has gone to the state. And as part of the housing element, the county is exploring a small area plan for the Lake Linganore area. As we know, like a lot of growth is going to that area, continued housing. It's a very active residential area. And so there might be some future efforts to focus on small area planning in that geographical area. And of course, data centers, a hot topic for Frederick County. And as many may already be aware, the CDI overlay bill was, the Planning Commission visited this topic last Wednesday at their Planning Commission meeting. And so tomorrow, this will go to the County Council for further deliberation. It's more of an informational workshop. So no decisions will be made at this meeting tomorrow night. But yeah, those are my updates.
Thank you so much, Ms. Marino. I turn to the commissioners for any questions on the topic she mentioned.
Quick question.
Commissioner Hadley?
You said you updated the third quarter residential pipeline. Do you have the total, like for everything? in
Oh, for
Frederick
everything.
County? Yeah, sorry, I'm
Yes.
just curious.
For Frederick County in total, so that also includes the municipalities such as City of Frederick, we have 13,428 in the pipeline,
Those are dwelling units.
dwelling units. And those can be broken up into single-family houses, townhomes, apartments.
Multiple family, et cetera.
Thank you.
Of course.
And I apologize to the other commissioners, but to tag on to her, so for just the new Linganore development you apprised us of tonight, in addition to the Cherry Run that we've been monitoring, I copied from you 1,400 for the Linganore, 1,800 for Cherry Run. That's
800 for Cherry Run.
800? Okay, I thought it was 1,105, and I thought,
Let's see. So 1,400 for the entire Eagle Head, Linganore community, and then,
right.
I'm sorry, then yes, combined Cherry Run, Cromwell, and Gordon Mill together will be 1,800 units.
1,800. So now we have, in that new market area, and Linganore inclusive, 3,200 dwelling unit projected over the coming years as
Decade, for sure.
they work through site plan, et cetera, et cetera. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, any other questions to Ms. Marino from the other commissioners?
I have one question.
Yeah, John, go ahead.
Two questions, actually. So when is your planning commission meeting? What days and what time is it usually held? And is it,
excuse me.
I'm sure it's recorded.
Yes, it is online. Frederick County's planning commissions are usually the second and third Wednesdays, and they begin at 9 a.m. Usually the first Wednesdays are for development review projects, whereas the second meeting is usually for livable Frederick, so our comp planning initiatives and such.
And then what time is that held?
9:30.
9:30 a.m. And then with the dwelling units, do you guys have a different factor for apartments to townhouses to single family, or do you use a base flat rate for density for those units?
Number of people per dwelling unit.
Correct.
It is just, we just calculate it by the one, so it's by just per unit. We don't do any like density calculations or anything like that. It's just per unit that the applicant.
Yeah, so I think, I don't mean to jump into your question, but
No.
I think we do 2.75.
That's the factor we use.
Yeah,
and
we
I didn't
use
know-
2.75 in our projected population growth whenever a development comes in with residential development and the number of dwelling units. We do 2.75 to kind of calculate how many bodies are going to now be there.
Right.
Because then that translates into services for the town, drinking water gallons per day. And so and we're not trying to put you on the spot.
No, of course
but,
not. I don't have that information
Nope.
on me right now, but
Nope.
I could definitely get that for next month.
Super.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Ralph.
And the very last question is, just for, and again, I apologize, if, when you mentioned data center overlay, can you give us kind of a description of what that is actually going before Frederick City leadership? Is it a layout? Is it a site plan? Or is it more constrictive as to if a data center comes in to Frederick County, it has to comport with these things? So a question is, what do you mean by overlay?
So with an overlay, so the underlying zoning and land use designations of a property exists, but on top of that, we have the overlay, which determines whether data centers can be built. Right now, that is, the Planning Commission only, has recently decided to just encompass that area, that footprint around the East Alco and current quantum loophole development right now. So that is within those confinements. And right now, I believe that the council is going to be deciding on, I guess, like the actual framework on how to implement it. Yeah, that's just a little bit of background information.
Gotcha. So specific to any land use, such as a data center, a municipality can come in above and beyond the code and offer an overlay, which adds either more restrictions or more requirements as to that specific land use being developed.
Right.
Would that
and-
be fair?
Yes, and
Okay.
property owners still have to go through the rezoning process to even be eligible for data center development, so. And from what I understand, the city of Frederick is also looking into data center regulations as well and jumpstarting that process, so.
Gotcha. And I wonder why. So,
Yeah.
Ms. Moreno, any other questions? Last call? Superb. Thank you again
right,
for
thank you.
traveling from
Sure.
Frederick City tonight to join us. I thank you again. The next item on our agenda is the annexation resolution 2025-47. Provide a recommendation to the town council. That is this commission's task. Prior to opening this agenda item, I want to provide to the public and to the commissioners a quick set of remarks to clarify what I've been seeing on social media and to hopefully clarify and provide some facts with regard to where we are and how we got here. And so let me begin by saying that in July, specifically July 7th of this year, the town received a petition for annexation by the Warfield family and Elite Baseball LLC for their 50.98 acre parcel located on West Watersville Road. The sale of the parcel along West Watersville Road to Elite Baseball is contingent on the town's council's decision regarding the annexation. In other words, if the annexation is approved, then as I understand it and these commissioners understand it, Elite Baseball will then carry forth with their contingent purchase of the parcel. This planning commission and its 7 volunteers, who are all town residents, we've been tasked per the town code to first give an assessment of that petition and any relevant criteria and provide them that recommendation within 120 days once it's delivered to us. And I'll go over that timeline in just a minute. And so again, us volunteers here are tasked with conducting a review of that petition, and it's the elected council members that have the decision authority at some time down the road. So we have until November 24th. That 120-day suspense began when we received it on July 28th. And so it's my effort here in bringing these commissioners together that we can have our next meeting, which is November 24th, and we can hopefully conclude that recommendation through a motion and a vote. And so between now and that is what we're all about getting done here tonight so that recommendation can be built and deliberated on in our next meeting. If we cannot reach a decision on that recommendation in this body here, then we also have the ability per the code to ask the council for an extension of that 120-day suspense. And I believe, John, correct me if I'm wrong, we've already put that in motion just in case.
We have not exactly. I was going to wait till tonight's meeting to determine if that was going to be a necessity.
Gotcha.
Because
Okay.
again, our meeting will occur before that date, but the town council meeting would occur after.
After
So
that
if it
date.
were not requested an extension at the beginning of November, the annexation would go to them with a favorable recommendation from Planning Commission without asking for the extension. Correct.
If we can't meet the suspense, it just automatically becomes a favorable? Is that?
That's correct.
Okay. And the request for our extension as a just in case to cover us if we can't get it done by November 24th, it's not on the agenda for the town council for November 3rd, this coming Monday?
Not on the current draft, but it will be tomorrow morning if we're unable to get a decision made this
Okay.
evening.
Okay, okay. And again, I'm just trying to cover us in case we can't reach that milestone of November 24th. I don't advocate that we go past that. I hope that we can, in other words, reach that, because as you know, this body doesn't meet in the month of December.
Correct.
And so if we can't complete that task by November 24th meeting, then we are not going to tackle it again until the end of January.
That's correct.
Yeah, and so,
Still has to be a public hearing set, which is,
and
also the county and the state also have to review that
right.
request as well.
And so what I'm trying to describe here is, you know, the time can be extended if we don't get this done, and I'm trying to get it done within reason. I'm not trying to rush it, but I am trying to keep that additional 120-day extension alive, so we don't default to an automatic, I didn't meet the suspense, and it automatically is regarded by the council as a default approval.
Right, so we will be asking for an extension for an additional
Good, okay.
120 days at the beginning of November.
Super. I apologize to the public. This is kind of inside staffing here, but I think I'm trying to share with you exactly the process that we're trying to meet. I want to quickly recap the timeline before I begin with the deliberation on the criteria tonight. So on July 7th, the petition and its draft resolution was introduced to the town council. In turn, they approved the motion to send it to this body for a 120-day timeline to reach a recommendation. We received that on July 28th, and that was when the 120-day clock started ticking, and that means, again, I've already said, that takes us to November 24th meeting. On August 25th, this commission then continued its development of criteria to assess the petition. What we all decided to do was just, rather than just say we like it or not and hear public comment or not and align to it, a lot of that, in my own words, is very subjective. I believe the council, the elected officials, require us to be objective about this petition, come up with some measurable criteria to assess whether it's good or bad, et cetera. And so that's what we began, and that's what we hammered out for this body to consider. On September 29th's meeting, so I'm walking us through, July 28th, August 25th, September 29th was our last meeting, of course, last month. We took the criteria that we had developed, and the petitioners then, on their own, willingly and in presence of their attorney, brought forth a presentation that addressed all the criteria and concerns they had heard through the July and August meetings. So we've digested that. We have copies of that. If I'm not mistaken, their presentation is also public accessible through our town website. And so here we are now, October 27th. Tonight, this is what's going to occur. Step one will be, I will guide the commission through our 6-page criteria listing that I believe everybody has access to. I'm going to seek the commissioner's input across all 6 of those 6 pages of criteria, and I'm going to be making notes. The town staff is going to be making notes, and I can always refer back to the videotape of tonight's session in order to refresh my memory of their input to me. When we are done, I'm going to ask if there's any further criteria that we have missed or we perhaps need to add based on the public input. And then lastly, once I close out the criteria and its assessment, then I will review their responses and I will draft, in coordination with the town staff and the town attorney, a recommendation that hopefully, again, will be presented for a motion of approval or disapproval or edit or amendment at our next meeting, November 24th. So that's our roadmap, folks. That's what we're going to start tonight. And so step one is, in fact, getting into that criteria. Before I get into the criteria, I will state that the town staff did receive input via email from various interested parties, and they provided that input, and we have copies. All 7 commissioners should have a packet up here that reflects the emails that I'm referring to. And so I won't read each of these, but I would ask that the commissioners regard these much like the public comments that you've heard live tonight, okay? These are public comments. These are statements made by both residents and non-residents with regard to the annexation. And so as I'm going to consider the public comments tonight and the public comments that were provided to us in August, I'm also going to consider this along with what I heard tonight. And then my last comment, bless you, before we begin, is, and I thought I had it here, but I may not. Yes, I do. I just want to caution all the residents, both in the town and adjacent to the property. And again, please take this as nothing more than being factual. I don't want it to come across as being any advocate for the petitioner, by no means whatsoever. I just want to caution that this diagram of this field and this layout is not the final layout. It is not. It was simply a proposed example for the petitioner to help us understand some of the criteria. On social media, I have seen this as the plan. That's not the case, folks, okay? I would say to you, in answer of, well, when does it become the plan? If annexation were approved by the council with or without conditions endorsed in that resolution by the council, the developer or the petitioner would then come forward to this body through the town staff with preliminary site plans, and there are stages of site plans of any development, whether it's residential, whether it's outdoor recreational, or whatsoever. And it would be at that time, under an annexation approval, that we would get down to brass tacks on what exactly is going to go within the parcel. So again, I'm just saying, don't take to the bank that this is it. It's just the petitioner's example to try to help us understand the answers to the criterias, okay? So I just wanted to make mention of that because I'm often seeing on social media that this is what's going to happen there. It's way too early for that, folks, okay? That comes at the site plan deliberation stage within this commission. And for those that have attended this commission, I want to close on that by saying this commission and its expertise and the character of this commission, we put a wire brush to every development. We really do. We follow the code because that's what the mayor and the town council expect us to do in reviewing any proposed project, regardless whether it's industrial, commercial, or residential. And so it would be at that time that we would see a real, no kidding site plan and we would scrub it, okay? So let me close with that. So before I begin, I turn to the commissioners to ask if they want to edit any of the process that I identified. I'm asking you again to open your packet to pages 1 through 6. And I am going to ask that we go down each of the criteria that we developed over the past 3 months. Tom?
Correction.
Okay.
If the planning commission does not make a recommendation within the 120 days in an absence of a extension, it is considered to have made no recommendation.
Ah,
And that's section 112-3B.
okay, okay.
Thank you.
Gotcha. And you know I'm going to have to comment on that. Just personally, I feel like we now have not done our job, and, you know, they expect us to give a recommendation. So, again, I think I share, we all want to get to a recommendation. So I think that's just doing our job kind of category. So thanks for that, though. Okay, so I'm on page 1, and the first criteria is the proposed annexation included in the town's current master plan for 2023-2033. If it is, what was the town's rationale for including that property in the town boundary growth? I then have underneath that criteria the verbiage exactly from the land use article of the state of Maryland, 3-201. And those items in the boxes there are examples of why a town would want to have a parcel outside its borders considered for annexation within its master plan. This parcel is indeed within our master plan for potential annexation. And so now I just simply begin the conversation with, according to state land use article, these were some of the offerings, and so I would say we said in our master plan that we wanted to offer a border, a rural buffer around the current town boundaries in order to provide things such as open space to reduce our current open space deficit, all right? water resources, because water is a precious resource for this town, and we always need more water. Rural buffering so that we can control what happens on our immediate border and it doesn't become something the county determines because of a county development effort that doesn't include this commission or the town per se. So those three items don't necessarily fit into this criteria, but I've written them down under other, and I'm open to whatever other input the commissioners may say as to why this annexation was put in our master plan. Any comment? No disagreement on the points I made? We got a quiet crew here tonight. Commissioner Wallace?
Does it say in the master plan TBD on why this was annexed into the town? Like, in that section, it just, for what it's to be for, it just says TBD.
Yeah, John, you want to talk to that?
I don't have it in front of me, but I think you are correct. It does say TBD.
Right, and for that reason, I find it difficult to provide a rationale for why it's in the master plan.
Okay. All right, any other input with regard to the first criteria? Second criteria question is, has there been any previous annexation efforts of this particular property? And if so, what is that history? And in our previous discussions, some of these answers have already been reached in our previous meetings, and so I believe the conclusion on that question with the town staff is no. There's no record of a prior annexation petition.
There's no prior annexation. Again, there was a communication with a developer to possibly annex in the past, but that sort of fell on deaf ears and didn't move forward.
Okay.
Many years ago before me.
Okay, so I believe the no is accurate. Okay. The next criteria is with regard to the county zoning district and the allowed land use. So the current county's, Carroll County zoning is R40,000, but I believe, John, correct me, in discussions with Westminster, do they still carry it on SDAT as ag?
Yep, the use is agricultural and the zoning on that is R40,000.
Okay. So that's correct in the criteria.
Yes, sir.
Is a privately owned sports complex allowed under the current county zoning? And I believe in our research of the county zoning documents and county maps that you provided us, I believe, in the July meeting at the very outset, an indoor recreational facility, I'm trying to use the verbiage that aligns with the projected use under elite baseball. Indoor recreational facility is coded as C, which means that the use is allowed following conditional use authorization by the Board of Zoning and Appeals in accordance with 158.133. And then when you shift on down the list of what's allowed, the outdoor recreational facility is also coded C.
That's correct.
So both are allowed to occur if it stayed within the county,
And if it went through a BZA
as it
approval
goes
case.
through a Board of Zoning and Appeals. Okay. All right, so that answers that question. What is the petitioner's, I'm on page 2 now. What is the petitioner's proposed town zoning? In the petition, it says that it proposes R1, which is what we bring everything in initially, according to our code. Proposed use, I wrote down, as understood from Elite Baseball attending the July 28th commission meeting, the business intent is for a privately owned sports complex. And per the town code 112-23, the R1 district is listed there for all the commissioners to reference. And under both subparagraph B2, it says parks, playgrounds, golf courses, public and private recreational uses, and cemeteries are allowed under R1. And then under the special exceptions, there's also mention if you want to consider it as a special exception. I don't believe that, but nonetheless, paragraph C also allows for private parks and recreational facilities. So the bottom line on that criteria is it even allowed within our town code for that proposed zoning and land use? The answer is yes.
Correct.
It is allowed. I'm on page 3 now, folks. Is the proposed land use allowed within? Yes, per town code, it is allowed. I just covered that. Are there existing structures on the property which are non-conforming to the proposed town zoning and land use? No, there are no structures currently existing on this property. John, I'll just turn to you. Is that still current?
That's correct.
Okay. What are the current adjacent town and/or county properties, zonings, and land uses? I have, through our previous discussions, all adjacent properties are residential per the petitioner's submitted plat map. I don't believe that's changed.
No, it has not.
Surrounded by residential dwelling units. Number 3, in addition to the information above and the information provided in the annexation, are there any further information desired by the Planning Commission? We entertained the addition of a cost-benefit analysis, which will include the traffic study. So at this point, and as I promised, Brian and Tim, if you'd like to come to the table as the two petitioners, and I do not see Mr. Bowersox? No? Okay. I would invite him also. I'm a fair kind of guy, so. And the reason I brought the petitioners here is because I anticipate that these commissioners may need an interaction to validate some of our answers for the continuing criteria. It's only in that regard. I'm not giving them any greater voice than what I've given the public, so please don't regard this as anything other than just making sure we get down to the real brass tacks on our criteria. So in the traffic study, Brian and Tim, you provided us a briefing at the last meeting that addressed traffic. And for the benefit of the commissioners, that traffic was on slide G within your presentation. And you go through the traffic discussion and the traffic study. You hired Linhart Traffic Consulting, if I'm not mistaken. I believe, if I'm correct, that gentleman also participated last month. And so, and he talked about different methodology to do, vehicle count, traffic count, loading capacity, and so forth. And so, again, for this, I'm asking for the commissioner's input so that I can build a recommendation with regard to traffic. You all know that traffic has been a popular, common item with regard to public input. Is there any commissioner sentiment with regard to the traffic on Watersville Road and the surrounding areas, including the intersection with 27? Brian? Commissioner Brian?
As far as input's concerned, it's already been stated by most of the public comment.
Can you come closer to the mic, sir?
Of course. It's already a difficult intersection to get through, to get past. I don't see Carroll County or Maryland doing anything for Watersville Road as far as helping this ease the congestion that's going to be caused by the sports complex. I don't see that. I don't see it. If we're number 5 on Carroll County's list for 27 being widened from Twin Arch up, I see the traffic disaster on the weekends and during the week being just something we're going to have to deal with, the citizens of this town. Other than that, I mean, it's basically that. It's going to be too congested for anyone to get out of their house. The back roads are going to be over congested. There's going to be more accidents. Because everyone's going to go the back way. They're going to go down by the train tracks, and the narrow road that's already existing there is going to be backed up with cars. Even if the sports complex were to have a egress lane to kind of get people on to Watersville on that one-lane road, I don't foresee it being, unless there's major infrastructure improvement on that road, it being possible. And that's my opinion on that.
Got you. Any other comment regarding traffic? Any sentiment as to the capacity of Watersville Road handling the, Steve?
Yeah, there's,
we got the traffic study from you guys, I appreciate it, but I think when it comes to this annexation, it is important that we think about this, but for me, I think in the future, I think most of this would be more addressed in a site plan. And I think any conditions in the future, no matter what would go in there, would have to be looked at that time. And that would be maybe a condition put on approval for anything would have to be some kind of traffic fix or whatever is going to go in there. But that's just my personal opinion.
Thank you. And I have to commend Commissioner Steve for that, because what he's sharing with you here, and I alluded to at some stage, if annexation were to be approved and we started the process of site plan submission, in that site plan process, there is a point where a concept plan is finally delivered. And in the concept plan, our code requires that we scrub the concept plan against 7 factors called adequate public facilities. It's actually referred to as the APFO, Adequate Public Facilities Ordinance. And among the 7 categories of the APFO scrub that we put a wire brush to on any concept plan is traffic and signaling devices. In addition, the other areas are schools. That doesn't relate here because it's not a residential development. But it also includes water, sewer, law enforcement, fire, EMS. Anyway, there are 7 categories. Traffic and signaling devices are a key element, I think, of our assessment here. And as Commissioner Steve said, we would definitely look at the APFO for traffic at any time that a concept plan stage was reached by the developer or by the owner. So I caught some key words there, Steve, and that was, it may be necessary to state what I just said as a condition if we do get past annexation. Okay, that's well said. Any other comment regarding traffic studies? Questions to the petitioners? I'll recognize them if you have a question.
Well, I just wanted to agree with Steve. I think that, I agree that traffic is an issue on that road, but I also think it's really, really early in the process, and a lot could change. There could be more traffic between now and whenever a site plan would come in for approval. So there's so many things to consider. I think to disqualify an annexation based on, something like that at this point doesn't make sense to me.
Gotcha. In other words, it's premature. We don't have the facts. Okay. And it kind of harkens back, Commissioner Heather. I'm calling you all by your first name. Commissioner Wallace, whatever. It harkens back to what I said about being cautious about this being the final thing. You can't take this to the bank, because what we do take to the bank is a firm site plan, concept plan at some possible later stage. Okay. Well said also. Any other comments?
Chairman, if I may?
Sure.
Thank you. I just sort of wanted to amplify what Commissioner Beta was saying, just for informational purposes. Just like last time or 2 months ago, we talked about the traffic study. It's a very cursory study. It's, preliminary study. It doesn't go deeper into exactly what's happening and how it's affecting the residents at their currently, right? Let alone the forecasted additional volume. So, again, just to amplify what Commissioner Beta was saying, if we were all betting people here, we would say the state's not close to helping, the county's not close to helping at that intersection. So I guess as both a citizen and a council member, I'd ask that you look deeper into that issue and how we can solve that if this were to come to fruition.
Gotcha. I will inject the following, and that is, in April of this year, I contacted the regional MDOT office located in Frederick, Maryland, with regard to complaints about the left turn. This harkens back to one of the public comments made by a gentleman. And that is, in April of this year, I went to the MDOT regional office and complained and asked for a traffic study to give us a dedicated left turn southbound Maryland 27 off of West Watersville Road. And secondly, to increase the lane length because of the loading capacity of dedicated left-turning cars, as was mentioned by the gentleman earlier, is limited to roughly about 8 vehicles, okay? And if you go beyond that 8 vehicles queued up waiting to make that left turn, the additional vehicles now spill in and block the straight ahead or right turn lane at that same intersection, and it becomes now a major problem. And so I approached them and I asked that they would do an air hose. It's kind of the jargon, but they basically do a traffic study on that intersection for the loading for specifically the left turn. They completed that study with just Joe Citizen asking them to do it. And they came back and said that it didn't warrant adding a dedicated left turn light at that intersection, but they would accommodate the complaint by adding 8 seconds to the green light. And so their logic was their study and what algorithms they used didn't warrant a change in the signaling to give a dedicated left turn arrow, but that they would give us more time to get through the intersection for those left turn cars. Yes. And so the District 4 council member, Michael Guerin, has been contacted to now try to add his leverage into pushing for a dedicated left turn signal. Some of you may know Commissioner Michael Guerin for District 4. So he now has added to my argument that I really think we do need a dedicated left turn signal and additional loading lane or lengthening lane for the left turn folks. I did also just recently solicit the same individuals to also study the question as to what would a complex such as this located along West Fardersville Road mean for them to do their studies on the impact of that intersection. That has been 3 weeks ago. They have not answered me. So all I'm trying to share here is the MDOT regional office did recognize there was substantial loading at that intersection with 27 specific to left turning southbound 27 cars. They have made a slight adjustment to the green light. This was earlier this year. And I'm hoping that they can address kind of what could be the potential other improvements to that intersection if we had something such as the sports complex along West Fardersville Road. And in all
Can I add
fairness.
something, Ralph?
Yeah.
Add something? So if it does get annexed and we do go through a site plan review process, again, State Highway will also be looking at that and looking at those counts at that point.
You got you. They have to do a study then.
That's correct.
Yeah, they have to conduct a study. And again, that study would inform us in that part of the APFO scrub for traffic and signaling devices. So we would look to that information from MDOT themselves as to whether or not we would pass it on the concept plan.
Right, and possible off-site improvements that might be the responsibility of the applicant or the developer.
Right. Which I think is a bit difficult, and I don't mean to now tag on to that, but on one side, the south side, you have, if I'm not mistaken, the Nils property,
Correct.
and to the north, of course, you have other parcels besides this parcel, and so I'm coming down to the intersection of West Watersville and Bottle Road. That's outside this parcel, so it becomes complex.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and before I leave this criteria, as in the fairness that I say I am, Tim or Brian, do you wish to add to any elaboration on the traffic study criteria?
Yeah, could I address the parking lot situation and you did it? with
In the
traffic?
sense that it creates the loading onto West Watersville?
That it creates the amount of cars that people think will
Sure,
be.
go ahead.
So I know that we said that was a sketch, that was my oversight there. When I sent that sketch plan to our engineers, it was just, hey, this is an area that we could use for parking.
Sure.
It was not meant to do that. The science behind it is 60 to 62 and a half spaces per field, so about 500 spaces for what we're envisioning. So it's 600 some spaces less than what's on the drawing.
I got you.
So I wanted to do that, and then
And let me pause you there.
Yep.
And I think I know the answer. I'm fairly confident. I was accurate in describing this as.
Yes.
Okay, all right. And I should have asked, do you differ with my perspective on this? But I think I had it. This was just to get us along through the criteria? Gotcha, okay. And now you're saying that 1,100 space parking lot is much larger than what you see feasibly going in?
With the science with back would be 60 to 62 and a half spaces.
Okay, thank you. All right.
And,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sorry, no, and with the loading, It's 300 cars per hour, both directions, so in and out. So it's not 300 cars going in, 300 cars going out, because I know that was mentioned, and that's on the weekend. The weeknight's significantly lower during peak time. It's 86 in and 45 out, so it'd be 45 out per hour during the peak time, making that left-hand turn onto 27.
Okay, and peak time, I believe, refresh me, the operation was going to be 4 PM until 10 PM? Or was it a different time frame? I know it
No,
was,
that was, yeah, that was what we were
That-
thinking, 4 to 10 if necessary or if needed during that time.
it was after school.
Yeah.
I remember that, that description. Okay, so roughly 4 to 10 would be this 45 in and out?
During like the peak, like around like 5 PM, 5 to 6 PM.
Okay.
Like that's where they did the study based on that time.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't be 86 in at 9 o'clock at night.
And I'm just guessing here, but I'm filling in some blanks here. You're saying sliding that to the peak of 5 or 6 is because that's when the first games would end?
That's just what the study says. So the
Okay.
study just says they did 5 to 6 PM, they measured the counts, and then they
gotcha.
measured what our load would be during that time.
Okay.
Our additional load.
This is Linhart giving you this?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Okay, so that's helpful. Thank you. Any other elaboration on the traffic criteria?
Could you, I'm sorry, I just had a quick, you said 45, but then you said 86. Could you just clarify?
Yeah, so 86 going into the park and 45 leaving the park during that peak time.
Thank you.
So for 131 total.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Brian, Tim, on that, on specific to traffic?
That we're absolutely willing to work with you guys on trying to mitigate this, because like I said, we're a little bit different than developers. We're going to be there every day too, so we're
Okay.
going to try to do that. And then we thought about different things as signage on the property to make sure we're leading people away from neighborhoods, so they're not taking left-hand turns out, going down through Nottingham, going on the other side of Watersville, keeping people off the back roads. Definitely site, at the entrance to the site, widening that XL decel lane, turning lane onto that. And then as Nick mentioned last time about talking with the people at the State Highway Administration to just sort of try to fix that light too as well.
Do as much as you can within the boundaries of your parcel.
Right, yes. And we're,
Acceleration lanes, expansion of West Cartersville, whatever can be done within the limits of your
yes.
parcel. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions regarding traffic criteria? Okay. All right. Thank you for this interaction.
Thank you.
I do appreciate the added information. So now we're going to go into page 4. We're rounding third here, folks. That's a baseball metaphor. We asked about the analysis of water requirements and the average gallons per day and what expected amount of that water requirement can be offset by water found on the parcel, such as an acceptable well connected to the town water system. And so again, referencing your last meeting presentation, you addressed water and you addressed sewer at the same time. And you spoke to the water requirements. And clearly, one of the drivers for you coming to the town for this annexation is because you need the town water and sewer.
Sewer
Sewer.
specifically, yes.
Okay, specific the sewer. And so why do I have this perception that you also need the town water? You're going to be connected to town water.
Correct.
Obviously, we won't allow you to run your own well if you're within the town boundaries. We're going to cap that well, right? Okay. But definitely the sewer, because your ground doesn't percolate for a septic field. Gotcha. Okay. So both of those utilities would be a part of any annexation, and the fees associated with building out that pipeline, Barney, kind of get into your area, so check me if I get off mark here. That would be all a necessary activity if and when site plan approval, concept were approved, and you were able to go to the permitting stage, correct?
Yeah, well, the water allocation would be something that would be part of the concept plan.
Right.
But to say we're going to cap the well, that's sort of undetermined now. I would wait until we get through that process to determine what possibilities are there too.
I got you.
Because if they can bring their own water, that's what we would prefer, I would think.
I got you.
So, but that will be something we'll have to deal with.
And we'd have to do a flow rate test and those sorts of things to determine whether the well is viable? Okay,
Right,
all
meet
right,
the town standards.
gotcha, okay. So there's a potential for that well being utilized by the town?
It's possible.
Okay, don't know. Have to wait for the tests. Any commissioner discussion with regard to the water before I turn to the petitioner for any elaboration on what he gave us last time? Any questions about water? I think we covered possible well. Commissioner Wallace?
I'm not sure if I guess it does directly relate to water because it's about the PFAS comment and the turf. And I mean, we've questioned that before on the planning commission. So I'm just curious, have you heard of that before? And are you prepared to mitigate that? Can it be mitigated?
Yeah, so right now, there's a lot of new technology with it. So the biggest thing is the rubber infill for the turf fields. So they have now more natural, they have like cork. Let me look at this. So there's cork infills where it's recyclable, because one of the big things is that you can't recycle the old turf because everything's mixed together and they can't separate it. Now with the turf, everything's able to be separated, and the one thing from our standpoint is the heat on the turf. If we're going to do most of the things in the summer, you would want to avoid that. And with the infills that are more recyclable and biodegradable, those are actually cooler as well because they're lighter color. So there are ways now over the last 5-10 years where they've now done big advances in turf because of how many turf fields have gone up throughout the country, that's now becoming, that was a concern and that's been addressed.
So given that, I think that should something like this go forward, that would need to be a consideration.
Gotcha. So let me summarize what I just heard, Tim, and that is there are technologies today with regard to artificial field turf which mitigate any contamination of groundwater.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions with regard to the water criteria? And again, as I already mentioned, water would be a key element of our APFO scrub if we got to the concept plan stage. And sewer is next. Again, we've talked a bit about sewer already. We would include, of course, with the water, we would include the sewer piping as a part of any development agreement with the town. Any commissioner comments with regard to concerns over the sewer criteria? No? Have we covered that adequately? Tim, would you like to elaborate at all on the sewer?
Just the sewer, the reason why we would want to come in is because it just allows for a more flexible site plan where we can meet a lot of the requirements that you would have, that the citizens would like to mitigate sound and everything. So that's why the sewer is the important thing, where through the county, the site does perk enough for what we're trying to do. It just would then hinder our ability to make that property sort of fit everyone else's or help everyone else with the sound, with the lighting and things like that, that the sewer allows that potential.
And again, without trying to nail down a specific site plan at this early stage, when we talk about sewer, we talk about the source of effluent. And so the source of effluent that I'm imagining for this are concession stands, latrines, restrooms, those sorts of things.
Yes.
Is that accurate? Okay, all right. Okay, we also had a criteria with regard to fire and EMS, and so you addressed fire and EMS, and so I also kind of recall that you were talking about there was a rate of injuries that you shared with us at the last meeting. First, turning to the commissioners, any commissioner comments on fire and EMS and adequacy and comments from last month? If not, do you want to elaborate on anything you told us already about that? No? Okay. All right. And then we also talked about law enforcement. And so first turning to the commissioners, any questions or comments with regard to concerns about law enforcement with this facility and its operation during the hours and after the hours for security, safety issues? No comments? You're okay.
Sorry, I
Go
just had
ahead.
a quick question. That's more APFO stuff, I'm thinking.
It
when
is.
We have the site plan. We
Yeah.
get input from the
Yeah.
town police.
Yeah,
So
totally. Totally great comment, and it reflects kind of what Steve said earlier about traffic. And as you all have noticed, we're kind of scratching that APFO here when we're talking about all these different areas. But we want to get a feel for it now is kind of where we are. You know, is this going to be an activity and a business model which is going to task and overtask our current police force is kind of the question with regard to law enforcement. Are there going to be measures taken in this business model for a multi-field recreational activity where you're going to have preventive measures, not only looking at what you do here, but reflecting on how you take care of those issues in other fields, in other counties, in other states, like you told us you have, to prevent, for instance, adjacent neighbors being worried that some kids are going to get in there after dark and do what kids do after dark, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what the law enforcement, in my mind, is there for us to kind of get an appreciation. Is this a risk to the community around them, and is it going to overtax our current law enforcement? So in that framework, do you have anything to add?
Yes, so that was when I mentioned in the presentation that we had to rely on people getting back to us. The law enforcement hadn't received anything from any of the parks. I have since received some of that information.
Okay.
So for instance, so Mount Airy basically each year gets between 6,300 and 7,000 calls to service throughout the year. For 3 parks, Olney Boys and Girls Club, Kiwanis, Wallace, and Blandair, those were the 3 that I received information from. OBGC averages 22 calls to service, Kiwanis Wallace averages 11, and Blandair averages 25 per year over the last 3 years. So it brings it out to around 1/4 to 0.5%, similar to the fire and EMS. It's basically almost identical.
I got you.
That how much we would add to the fire and EMS is what we would add to the police response as well.
And the call frequency numbers you gave were per year?
Per year, yes.
Per year?
Yes.
Okay.
Chairman Gant?
Yeah, go ahead.
If I could, I don't know if you've considered this, but I mean, really, law enforcement and traffic kind of can go hand in hand. If you considered in the future, maybe if there are large tournaments, whether or not, if the roads are having issues or getting backed up, if you've considered the possibility of hiring off-duty officers for traffic direction as well, if you have these large tournaments, if you considered that.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Chairman, I was thinking the same thing earlier, but to piggyback on that, an analogy, a similar, I don't know, I keep thinking about on Sundays when the mega churches have their, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the equivalent of a tournament for you guys, right? Yeah, or a day of tournament for you guys. So it's that kind of, I mean, we have one over here on 144, right? Where on like Easter and Christmas, they'll have, I don't know if they're off duty, but, people out there directing traffic. So that could be, if there's no infrastructure or a minor infrastructure solution, that could be something to look at, right?
Gotcha. No, good comment. Good comment. So I'm going to close the law enforcement criteria discussion. I got some good input there, and if we can move to the open space considerations. And I have a question to John with regard to open space. Because this is non-residential, clearly, let's refresh our guidance with regard to the open space requirement for a development is such as this in R1 zone.
Yeah, so technically, they would not require to have any other kind of open space. We'd still have to get an open space waiver from the planning commission and have that documented, et cetera.
Right, which is a requirement at the concept plan stage regardless of the development. And
That's correct.
regardless of the zoning, we have to do that as a waiver exercise for the APFO stage. Okay, however, any parcel that doesn't have residential dwelling on it could, of course, volunteer a portion of their parcel toward the town to reduce our open space deficit.
Yep.
Correct, Barney? Correct? Yeah. So that would also be I don't know what the right word I'm searching, an overture to being a part of the town boundary and contributing to knocking that deficit down.
When I had one question related to that for the gentleman. So when I looked at your, concept plan or your overlay plan, it looked like the fencing was actually around the fields and not around the open space. So I don't think there's going to be a gate, as one of the citizens had commented, at the entrance. The gates are at the fields, so that walking path and the parking lot would be accessible by the citizens of Mount Airy for use outside of normal order. That's my impression. I wanted
Okay.
to bring that up, but that was what I.
So that's clearly in your vision of what would go in there, would have anyone in the public could go to the parking lot at any time and enjoy a walking trail?
So that would be something where if we would put maybe, depending on how we would set up like an automatic gate, but it would be like, it's closed from 6 a.m., or sorry, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Or
Or you wouldn't
as-
be able to go there because then that protects the neighbors from people wandering on the properties at 4 a.m. at night.
That's fair. And oftentimes, we see such public access areas as it closes at sunset.
Yeah.
Just as a, kind of a general sign, right?
And if we did move forward with a site plan after annexation, I would think then to warrant the other citizen who was complaining about possible people coming and trespassing, there might be an additional fence that might be along the outer perimeter of their parcel to eliminate access outside of that 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Okay,
So it'd be like a double fence almost.
okay.
But that would be part of the site plan approval process
And so,
requirement.
my question with regard to closing the open space criteria, again, you've given us some sense of the vision as to public access. Could you give us some sense, and again, I'm not going to hold you to it because we're way early in discussing this down to brass tacks, Tim and Brian. Do you foresee any part of this parcel being contributed or deeded to the town to reduce our open space deficit?
Yes, yeah, for especially the walking trail. That's what that was our plan.
Okay, so the perimeter of the parcel would likely be a candidate to be deeded to the town.
And my understanding also, as we spoke, is that they were going to actually maintain it. So it would be deeded to the town, but they would continue to maintain that
Okay.
trail.
And that's rather critical because, of course, when land is contributed to the town's ownership, oftentimes it's the town's responsibility to now budget for and maintain that additional property. And so what I'm hearing is, I heard it from John, is that also within your vision? That as a part of the overall parcel, cutting the grass, plowing the snow, whatever trail, et cetera. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Wallace?
So question, I understand that, for the open space waiver, it's the 3 acres per 100 people or something like that, right?
In a residential
In a
setting.
residential setting. This is zoned R1, which is a residential zone.
Right.
Which on the surface requires 25% open space, right? So I'm just asking, are we not adhering to that because it's not houses? Because the zoning is the zoning.
I understand that. But, again, we'd have to cross that bridge when we got to it. Ultimately, the waiver might be, I can defer to Tom,
Yeah, I would
but I'd
ask
have to look at the code.
To remember that the waiver is different from the requirement, so there's going to be whatever the requirement is, but to achieve the waiver, you have to meet the threshold of 3 per 100. Now, this does because it doesn't introduce any new residences. So that threshold is met. However, as we know, once you meet the threshold, it makes one eligible for consideration for the waiver, right? You have to go through the various factors that are identified within the code still to determine whether or not there's the waiver. I don't know offhand what the open space requirement is for an R1.
It's 25%.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily, they're two separate things.
Right, and actually, I wasn't talking about the waiver at all because I understand there's no residence. I was just asking if, because this is zoned R1, would it still require that base 25% contribution of open space because it's R1? Take the waiver out of it.
Without reviewing the code, my inclination would be to say yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so very good point. And so I've made a note here that I need to research the open space minimal requirement for zone R1, regardless of dwelling unit development. And I'll consider that then in addressing this criteria. Commissioner Hadley?
So since we're talking about open space, and since you said you're going to cut the lot down.
Parking lot.
The parking lot down. do you think that would allow for more open space on this?
I think so. So if you basically take the top end of the parking lot and just go straight across the parcel, I understand this is our scale drawing to the best of our ability, but the walking trail area is about 25 to 33% of the property.
Oh,
So if you go from basically the north of where the parking is there, and then go around the whole outside, I'm not 100% sure what the easements or how far it'd have to be off property lines, but it's about 25 to 33% of the total property is where the walking trail outside the fencing.
How many acres does it take to make a soccer field?
A little over one.
Okay.
We're doing that there.
Okay, just curious, because I think if I'm doing the calculations correctly, and if it is 25%, that's like 12 and a half acres.
Right. Of 51, correct. Yeah.
But that's what, that allows everything to be more condensed on the property rather than spread out. So it gives that ability to have the open space on the outside with being annexed.
Any other questions regarding open space or discussions? I'm going to move now to the analysis of all likely revenue reasonably expected to be paid to the town in both short-term development fees and long-term taxes and any recurring fees, if any. And so I believe you addressed this in the economic portion of your presentation last month. And in that presentation, I'm just looking at it, you spoke to other examples such as the Fairfax County report on direct revenue to that county and so forth. I will share, and I know that Councilmember Kelly has also, and also John Breeden has also, over the past few days, we have pulsed the town clerk as to, can there be some kind of good estimate number with regard to property fees that would ensue toward the town, business revenue fees, i.e. sales fees, et cetera, et cetera. And I invite Sean, if you want to add on, it's a rather difficult calculation because it actually begins with an SDAT assessment of the property after you acquire it. And that in the research to try to get to this firm range of what could be the economic revenue to the town if you do this, we also found some interesting information as to the current annual taxes under Carroll County. And so the assessment of the property was, and you probably know this, we found the assessment of the property up at Westminster is $23,200 for 51 acres. And that was, and when I gave John the, you got to quit eating those bad lunches, he went back and he said, no, I'm going to double check it. And John, it's verified, right?
23,200 is the assessed land use value, or the value of the land currently.
Right. And I'm not trying to be,
Agriculturally zoned, yeah.
it's, yeah, land use
And
agriculture.
unimproved.
And I'm not trying to be humorous to you or the public here. I'm just trying to say, we really tried to honestly try to transfer and extrapolate current use, current assessment into now if it's a part of the town, what does that mean specific to town revenue? And we've just found it enormously difficult. So on this particular criteria, I don't think we have a range or an estimate. Is that fair, Councilmember Kelly?
Seems like it. It's
Yeah,
very hard to quantify this.
It's very hard to quantify. I mean, when it gets down to fees, I think we probably have a little more brass tacks because we all understand through the town staff and what's required to do piping and permitting and grading and, all of those kind of, specific construction things, which incur fees to the town. But in the bigger picture, property taxes and so forth, business revenue taxes, it just got to be where we can't have a good answer on this criteria. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Ralph, guys?
Sure.
So that's sort of why we did the slide that way, because we couldn't find the answers either. And the reason we use Patriot Park North is they cater more to local tournaments and local teams where they don't have the hotel usage. Because if you look at other parks that have the hotel usage, you're talking 10 times the value. Like if you went to a complex outside and say a Georgia complex or a Florida complex, they wouldn't be bringing in 4.4 million of direct revenue. It'd be 44 to 50 to 60 million. So we use Patriot Park North because it'd be similar to us, catering to more people local within 10, 20, 30 minutes rather than outside coming in from New York, coming in from Ohio, coming in from North
gotcha.
Carolina. So that's why that number is at the 4.4 number, and that's why we use that park as an example.
Okay. And again, I think it's suffice to say, there would be some property tax revenue. There would be some business tax revenue. So it would exist in the plus column for the town. It's just quantifying it is the difficult conclusion here. So let me go beyond and talk, let's talk about now the criteria, safety and security measures. I think we touched upon this. Specifically, the public and the adjacent neighbors were concerned about errant balls entering their properties. You addressed that, I believe, last month. You want to recap what's going to be done to avoid that? I think it included something like field alignment, the way you're going to kind of lay things out, but I don't want to get ahead of you. You want to recap that for us?
Yeah, the biggest part would be just how the fields are aligned so that everything would be more towards the center of the park. We would have netting around to protect not only the patrons in the park, but from the balls going anywhere outside the park. But if it's designed or constructed the way we want, with it being in the center of the park, there really wouldn't be many opportunities for balls to leave the actual complex.
Okay. And there was also a adjacent property owner concern regarding site security after hours. We touched upon this when we talked about law enforcement. You want to elaborate on the measures you've said you're going to take?
I mean, we plan on fencing around. We'd have
Okay.
security cameras.
Security cameras?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we would want to have it as secure as possible for us and for everyone around it.
Okay. And before I go into Bowlegs number 3, measures to ensure safe vehicle entry and exit, because I think we talked about that with an acceleration lane and so forth. While we're still talking about errant balls and site security after hours, I believe I mentioned at the last meeting, and if it's innovative, then I will owe up to it, and that is we have some kind of, I don't know, neighbor committee, or we have something that allows a group of folks to provide you routine interaction so that you can be aware of any problems regarding this or other adjacent neighbor issues, noise, illumination, et cetera, and that this body would be very well received by you so that you can, again, hear them at the very beginning and not let them fester, and that you would then, interact with them to address solutions and meet their complaints. So I described that last time. I think you shared that didn't exist in other fields to your knowledge. But I think you agreed that it would be worthy of having here because of the feedback we've gotten from the folks that are going to become neighbors if this gets off the ground. Is all that fair?
100%, yes.
100%, okay. I heard it here. Okay, and the measures to ensure safe vehicle entry, we talked about acceleration lane within the parcel limits. You would accommodate that traffic need. Okay. Folks, we're on page 6. We're coming down third baseline. Description of all possible impacts to adjacent properties. We've talked about a few of them all, and again, this criteria was put in there because I think when we did the August public interaction, everybody kind of resonated from the public as to what's the real harmony of this going to bring, Again, it's kind of, I'm going to have a new neighbor, and I'm not going to like them if the noise goes past 10 p.m. or even is too high to tolerate at 10 p.m. If the lights don't have good cutoffs, if the design of the lighting and illumination and so on and so forth. And so I'm kind of summarizing some of those subparagraphs, illumination, noise levels. I also talked about, a residential complaint board in Bowlegs 3 here. And so I don't know if you want to recap kind of the lighting and noise mitigation that you're already planning.
Is it possible for a lighting expert to speak on this behalf, to be more specific than?
Do you have one
that?
here now?
I think John's back there. He's done a lot of work in Carroll County specifically.
Okay. Barney, if you can turn the mic on for the public comments, I'm going to let this gentleman use that mic.
Green lights on. Okay.
Yeah, sir, could you just introduce yourself for the record?
Sure. I'm John Windsor from Musco Lighting.
Okay.
Just wanted to take an opportunity, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. super sensitive to building projects, whether it's in the middle of a city or whether it's in a cornfield. And Musco is a 50-year-old company out of Iowa, and we live and breathe building projects like this. One thing that we always try to encourage on a project like this is to work with the International Dark Sky Association, which is a volunteer effort out of Arizona, nonprofit. And if you're familiar with it, they're essentially the IDA would prefer zero light, would be their best option. But obviously, to live our world, you have to travel, you have to have fields, you have to have other opportunities to light something safely for the kids. So International Dark Sky has a super restrictive lighting plan, and Musco has embraced that, and we do it all around the world. So I would encourage, I've met with these gentlemen, and we would, once they got their plan together, we could come up with a design, get it approved by International Dark Sky before you all get your final step. It's not any effort. I mean, it's simple effort to be done. And then you would be able to appreciate how light, our job is essentially to put the light on that table and have zero light around it. That's what we do. The less expensive options around the world, they just want to blast light. We do not do that. So the other part is the technology has changed drastically nowadays. When you all played under lights, or you have kids that played under lights, they would have been these round halogen lights, 15 inches in diameter, something like that. Now our LEDs are wedge-shaped, probably 70 to 80-foot light poles. The lights aim down directly. If you want to see an example, is we just did Westminster in Liberty High School. So just wanted to give you that analysis that we're super sensitive to the neighbors. We do projects, whether it's in the middle of Fairfax, where there's a house right next to the field, or right here, you have houses right on Water's Edge. I've visited the site a bunch of times.
John, thank you for that. Commissioner Hadley?
I just had a quick, so if this, again, it seems like this would be more of a site plan thing, you would have this information by the time of a site plan if.
Sure. We just need to get an idea of what kind of fields. We would design it. We would send it out to Arizona to be blessed by the dark sky folks. They could do that. That would be something that we would just work with these gentlemen. So
One of the, and to elaborate on that, one of the typical site plan appendices or enclosures that we always expect to see is a, and I'm going to use.
Photometric plan.
Photometric plan. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And the photometric plan shows us the true layout and then how many lumens exist at, I think it's square foot intervals or square yard intervals, but they basically grid the entire parcel, excuse me, with a lumen level at each one. And so I know we're well ahead of any of that, but if that time were to come and that document were to come to this commission, I'm going to state right now, we would want to see the lumen level at the border to be darn near zero.
it would be. That's the way we do it all the time.
Okay, okay.
So,
all right.
And that would be something we would give to them, and they could pass it on to you all, and you could make it part of your document. I mean, it's.
Very good. Okay.
So,
thank you. I just wanted
No
to
worries.
make that clear up front.
Yep. I have some documents here that I didn't bring enough, but there's some extras if you want.
Okay.
Hey, Ralph, I will say, I was walking around the Westminster High School field just the last couple of days, and you can see the new lighting that's there compared to what was there. They actually have some lights that are mounted lower on the pole, too, to give more direct light down, and then, again, the wedge-style LED lights. It was pretty impressive, and I think I saw them when we were at the MML fall conference. One of the high schools up there had them on, and it was amazing how contained they were on the field.
Okay.
Those, the technology has changed, like we said, is those lights that are 10 feet off of the ground actually shine up to light the underside of the ball when there's an aerial sport.
Okay.
Because if there was a pop fly or a punt, the cutoff is so sharp that the kids would lose it in the dark.
Interesting.
So we came up with that
Okay.
idea of having to light it, and it shines about 3 or 4% off of their horizon, so it's not shining in anybody's house.
Gotcha.
But,
Well, I thank you for that, and I will definitely look through
Sure.
this technology.
we have it electronically that we can share with you and
Okay.
whoever.
All right, John. Hey,
So-
thank you very much.
Yep, have a good night.
Let me address the noise level, Tim and Brian, and because a comment was made even tonight, I believe it was also made in August public comments about the concern for PA, public address systems, those sorts of things that may or may not occur in managing these ball games. Could you address that?
Yes, so when we talked about last time, the decimal reading, there just really isn't that much. So that was actually me just going out with a reader to all the different areas with doing that. That there is cheering that goes on.
Sure.
It's contained probably in like 5-second bursts around that point. Most of the conversations throughout the day or throughout the fields will be sort of like a conversation like what we're having now. I think last time when I measured, it was actually louder in this room than it would be at a ball field.
Okay.
Typically, if we just took like the average reading for that there. So there will be short bursts, and at the fields where I measured it, the ones that had the air horns and the scoreboards that made noise, those were the ones that had the highest intervals. The ones that had no scoreboard noise or any PA system, those were around like 80 to 75 decibels, which after over 100, 300, 600 feet, those noises go down. So that's why we want to put everything at the center of the property. So if you do hear anything, it is murmured. It's a more of a quiet whisper by the time it gets there. And then we're also thinking with hopefully being annexed, that we can berm some of the property. So then you have some natural barriers along with trees and some dirt in areas like that. So it's not a flat surface. Because some of the things that I heard were that you could hear the fairgrounds. Well, if you're above hill looking down, they have a straight shot for that noise to get to you there. So our hope is to sort of contain everything in the site as best as we can. And that's why that's
Gotcha.
one of the reasons with annexation.
In this commission experience with trying to mitigate or abate noise potential, we often get into the discussion of screening. So screening is a landscaping technique to try to baffle and prevent noise, migrating into neighborhoods or adjacent areas. And so, and I'm not going to ask you the question, but again, when and if we were to get to a site plan, as a part of noise abatement, this commission would very likely want to see landscaping efforts introduced into your plan that would involve trees and dense bushes, evergreens, native species. Am I doing good? Commissioner Steve. So we do have some experts here who are keen on appropriate, tasteful screening that has the benefit and function of abating noise and to some degree abating illumination and, other things like that. So again, I'm not asking if you're going to do that or not because we are well ahead of that site plan for about the 10th time tonight. But I would say just expect that
We're planning on it.
if we got to that point. Thank you. Okay. And again, to wrap things up tonight, a clear explanation as to why the proposed land use isn't being attempted through the current Carroll County Code and under the current zoning of R40,000. I think we touched on that. It's primarily being driven by the ground percolation for septic and driving you towards sewer connections with the town's wastewater treatment plant.
Correct, yes.
That's correct. Okay. So that's our reason for that last question. I'm going to now open to the commissioners because we've had a lot of great input from the public and we've also had a great discussion over these past 4 months. Last call for any other criteria or element of this petition that should be brought to this table because our next step is now putting together our recommendation. Is there anything that's outlined that we missed or we want to include in addressing our recommendation? Okay?
Chairman?
Yep.
Just one thing, just to call attention back to number one, part one, number one.
Okay.
The rationale, I guess we just left
Oh,
I can see the council asking, well, what was the rationale?
okay, my apologies. Let me go over that again. So what I did is I basically cited the words that we have in our master plan as to why we want to propose annexation parcels. It's to achieve called rural buffering, and rural buffering
Okay, but not specific to this property. I'm taking this question to be, why is this property annexation included in the master plan? Is that not the case? Proposed annexation included in the town's master plan.
Right.
It is, yes, it is.
Yes.
It is included. What was the rationale? So what's the rationale for this specific annexation being placed into the master plan?
So it was under, all annexations in the master plan are led off by text which says annexation is good for the town so that we can create areas of rural buffering that are under the town control. And when that rural buffering through annexation is achieved, the town now can control possible more water, possible more open space, and the control of the development of that perimeter around the town versus the county dictating what happens to it. That was,
So it'll say that this specific annexation achieves the overall goals of annexation.
so I would say annexation, the list of annexation properties, because this is not the only one.
Correct.
But all annexations within the master plan help us to get to that description of rural buffering.
That overall description, okay.
Gotcha. And key among those reasons I gave, this is Ralph Gant talking, is additional water potential. I've already said it's such a precious resource for this town because of all the things that are happening, and we only have a limited number of wells. And secondly, and again, this is just Ralph Gant, I don't want it to reflect this commission, it's that we now as a town have control on what happens there. If we don't annex it, then the county controls what happens there. And the county can do as they wish with what goes in there, right on the edge of our border. You follow me? So, okay. But great question. And so I'll emphasize that in my write-up. If there's no further criteria for us to consider, I have one quick question for the town attorney. This question was raised to me by a resident. I applaud that resident for bringing this question to me. And so I'm going to kind of put you on the spot, Tom. I don't do that. I'm not a Mr. Surprise guy. The question is, this petition was given to the town in July with two petitioners listed in it, the Warfield family as the owners, current owners of it, and the other petitioner was Elite Baseball LLC. Elite Baseball LLC has stated their interest in this parcel is only contingent on the annexation decision, because then, if it does go through, they will then purchase the property.
Right.
I think all of that is factual. And so the question from the resident that I applaud is, then in submitting a petition for annexation, does Elite Baseball have standing?
Ask that again. Well, it does in the following sense that, so let's assume you took them off the petition, okay? It still qualifies under the law.
I got you.
For consideration for annexation.
I got you.
Because now you've got, the qualifications are very minimal. It's 25% of the registered voters, well, there are none.
Right.
25% of the ownership. Well,
Correct.
you include them or you do not include them.
I got you on that. I'm just saying right now, we accepted a petition with one of the two petitioners not having current ownership.
Well, they have a contingent ownership.
And
so
that-
they still have an interest in the property.
Okay,
The
so-
contract gives them a right to purchase the property.
Right.
Subject to that contract's terms.
I got you.
And it's
Okay.
also not infrequent whether the developer signs the petition or does not sign the petition. It's the developer who, at the end of the day, can and has to address a lot of your questions. What are the impacts going to be? What do you plan on putting there?
True.
So at the end of the day, whether they sign it or they do not, you're going to be hearing from the developer who plans to actually develop the property.
Right.
So do they have standing? Yes, in my opinion, they have standing.
Okay.
But
That's
whether you took them off or kept them on, doesn't make a lot of difference at the end of the day.
Again, I didn't ask that question, and I want to make sure I do a foot stomp here. I didn't ask that question with any prejudice toward the task before us. I asked that question just from a legal standpoint, which has been answered by our town attorney, that even though the petitioner doesn't have ownership, it's a contingent ownership, and they have interest, and therefore
Have an interest in the property.
they're a valid petitioner.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay. So, quick question? Yeah.
Sorry, for John. Was this annexation also in the 2013 master plan?
I'm sorry, say again?
This property, was it also in the 2013 master plan for annexation?
This was not in the 2013. It was in previous master plans, but not the 2013.
And so I'm going to close this agenda item by turning to the two petitioners before us and saying, are there any closing remarks? Because my next step, as I outlined earlier, is I'm now about taking all of this input, including yours, including the public's comments in August, and I'm going to be drafting a recommendation that will then come before this commission for consideration in November. So any last closing comments?
Yeah, there were just two things, Ralph.
Okay.
That hopefully clarify some things. Our plan this entire time was to have the town have access to the property. We want them to have access to the basketball courts, the pickleball courts. We plan on having wiffle ball fields, the walking trail. The fields themselves at almost all properties like this, the fields are generally permitted. Yes, to just get on the field, you are going to have to access a permit, and we can talk about that. But we want residents of the town of Mount Airy, while the park is open, to be able to come in and use any of the ancillary parts, playground, basketball courts, pickleball courts. I know I've seen some things that say, no, this is shut off to everybody. That was never our intention when we first met, July of 2024. We said that at our first meeting in here. We also have planned, and Brian's still here, I would still like to talk to Brian. We've talked to a couple other people in Maya. Our plan has always been, I sat at this table with Councilman Galletti when she was here, Councilwoman Galletti, and said, our plan is to have the youth sports have access to the field and fields. And we want to give them initial access, especially during the week, so that they can use it for multiple sports, if they need it for games, for practices. It was never our intent to come in here and shut out the rest of the town. It was actually the complete opposite, and we've stated that from the beginning when we have met with people. So kind of wanted to clarify that if you live in Mount Airy and you want to come over to the park, outside, I guess, if we're running a large tournament, but if it's a Thursday afternoon and you want to come play basketball on the basketball courts, it would be available to you. That was just two of the big things. We want to work with the youth, and we want to work with the town so they have access to as much of the property as possible.
So for the youth teams, there would be a first right of refusal?
Yes, so when we spoke with them, that would be the plan. During the week, probably in the fall and spring, we would want to offer basically the entire park to them to figure out when they would want to schedule it. We had discussed hopefully doing something very similar fee to whatever they're renting fields for now, but we're open to talking about that, but we wanted to give them access. Then fill in on the weekends, we would do probably tournaments or games, but whatever isn't used by us, they would then have access again to obtain permits for it or use it. So we wanted to give them first access ahead of everybody before we used it or had anybody else use it.
So 3 key points. There would be elements of your design that would have public access, no cost, free to use within some daylight limits, leave by sunset, whatever, but that model exists for public, no fee use. Point 2, the local teams would have first right of refusals to program field time.
During certain times, but yes, for a majority of the time, that would be the case.
And then point 3, that local team field use, such as Maya, would still be fee-based.
At this point, most likely.
Okay. Interesting. Most
But
likely.
it would have to be something where we could afford to still operate the park, which I mean, not to get down.
Because this is a business.
Not to get down a rabbit hole, but every organization generally has to rent the fields they use, even if they're potentially public or private, so.
Okay. But that fee structure would be comparable to what they pay now?
When we had our meeting, we said we want to make it as comparable or as similar to what you're already doing.
Okay.
And if we can work with them on making that as cheap as possible, we would love to do that.
Gotcha. Okay. Last call. That's it?
No, just that we're really looking forward to working with the town, and like I said, we're hoping that we can make this as beneficial to everyone. The one thing is, like with the permits for the youth association, permits have to get for any field, whether it's public or private. So that's our thing, is we're just doing what everyone else currently does. The difference is, now, if Maya has to pay or has to use a field, even if they don't pay, they're still having their coaches out there hours before practice, hours after practice, working on the field, buying supplies.
Right.
They will not be doing that here. So that's how we look at that there, that if they are paying a fee, they're not paying for any upkeep to the facilities that they have to pay everywhere else, along with their hours and hours of time per week.
Gotcha. Thank you. I'm going to close this by again stating to John and to my co-chair, Commissioner Hadley, and to the town attorney, please expect some initial writing and outline toward the recommendation. I do not believe that this complex question, and as I mentioned, the pinnacle of town council authority to expand the town boundaries, is simply going to be a motion, yes or no. I think that we ought to provide to the council as best we can the rationale behind that recommendation, going into the depths that we've scrubbed here for the past 4 months, okay? That's just me, but I want to give a comprehensive kind of report that we can defend and that we can basically stand up and say, here's why. And so all these elements that we've been doing kind of lend toward that outcome. Fair enough? Okay. I close this agenda item. I thank you. I thank the public, and I'm going to move on now to our last item, which is introduction and discussion of the 2023 Water and Sewer Master Plan Fall Amendment. I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to defer to John to kind of give us a quick description of what this agenda item is all about.
Sure, I just want to add again that it will be on the town council agenda to ask for that extension.
Okay.
So it gives us the time to give a recommendation.
For the extension?
Yep, so that'll be on the
Super. Okay.
November agenda. And let me bring that up. Okay. Oh, security alert. Awesome. All right, here we go. All right, well, let's go ahead. So basically, this fall amendment for the Carroll County Water and Sewer Plan is basically an amendment that comes around in the fall and the spring, and then they do a triennial update as well. This amendment is bringing the current properties that were adjusted in our master plan current with Carroll County, to bring Carroll County's master plan concurrent with ours. So these updates are basically to bring their master plan in line with our current comprehensive adopted master plan. And I'm going to go through these fairly quickly. Again, this is a collaboration with us and Carroll County. Again, this is to update the comprehensive master plan for the county for their water and sewer. Again, town master plan goals, adequate public facilities. Again, thank you, Sean. And again, about our implementation. And here's the goals for the county master plan. Again, I'm not going to read these together with you or for you. Again, and this is how they basically average our gallons per day for residential, gallons per day for commercial and industrial. how they calculate changes to demand, existing final planning, priority future, and these are basically S1, S3, S5, W1, W3, W5, and W7, I think. Again, this is how the maps are indicated, so you can understand where there's existing or final planning, priority or future. Moving on here is some of the parcels that are being adjusted. Again, we're looking at, this is part of the Green Tree Village portion that was never allocated. Again, this is part of the power line right-of-way. There'll never be anything built there. This development is the Buffalo Ridge subdivision, which you guys have seen a concept plan for, and we have a final plan for review right now. This other single property here is actually one that by MDE, we were forced to accommodate them with water because they were having some contamination issues with their sewer getting into their water supply. So that was a mandate from MDE, is my understanding.
Is that Dorseytown?
It is in Dorseytown. This is Dorseytown in the slash, which is, this is, I think, the S or W7 with the lines in it.
Right.
This is future or long range, which is basically 7 to 10 years out or 10 to 20 years out. So these are potential future areas of possible water allocations. And these are 31 slides in here, so I'm going to go pretty quickly.
And so, and I'm trying to be respectful here, because what you're reflecting here is a lot of work by you and Barney and the town staff to align our adopted master plan to the county plan.
That's correct.
That's all of what this is.
Correct. And again, I can forward this power presentation to everybody if you want. Again, we can go through it slide by slide, or
Yeah.
you also have the actual text inside your packet.
Yeah.
I didn't give you the PowerPoint because I figured we could go through it quickly. I don't know. Again, ultimately, this whole plan is basically going through and amending their plan to represent exactly what we adopted in our master plan with any parcel that changed.
Gotcha.
Any type of use that changed on those parcels.
Makes total sense. And so I got the high level, and Barney, I know you rolled into this effort, because it's water and town engineer business. And so I want to recognize that, and, the whole town staff that, because there's a lot of work here to make the amendments to bring us into alignment. So I'm kind of turning to the commission now and saying, there's a couple choices here. We can ask for John to go over each amendment that is going to be, they're asking us to do a motion and a vote with regard to forwarding these amendments to the county so they can amend their water plan to align with us. We can look at some individual ones. We can ask some questions as to the verbiage in this, like what does existing W1 mean? So I am totally open as to what your preference is, given the hour, and given the summary of what this task is trying to accomplish. Commissioner Wallace, your preference here?
My preference would be if there's anything significant that you think the planning commission, you'd want to highlight for the planning commission, then that would be one thing. But we have the packet
Right.
and all the information's in there. I don't think we need to go over every single slide or property.
Okay.
That's okay with me. Basically, we just need a motion to accept these amendments for them to move it forward.
I got you.
So they can move their
Yeah.
water and sewer comp plan onto the state and to
Right.
the county planning board for approval.
And again, I'm being genuine here. I'm not trying to cut off you talking about all this great work, because indeed, a lot of work has been put into this. I don't want to give any sense that I'm dismissing it quickly because of the hour of the evening. But I think what we're also doing is we recognize our trust in the town staff and, including the town engineer and your staff, that you've nailed this, and we got to get it to the county anyway.
Right, and this
Right.
is really all your hard work that got us to where we are as well.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, you should take some credit as well.
Bill?
Because
John,
can you pull up to the mic a little closer, Bill?
just a real simple question. Has there been any discussion with the county already about these points?
Yes, we've done it at staff level. And again, they're basically taking our comprehensive master plan and bringing it current
Okay,
in their eyes.
so it's been mostly positive feedback from them as to what you shared with them?
Oh, yeah, yep. They've accepted the inputs for both Barney and myself. And again, corresponding with our adopted master plan.
So like one example might be on number 14. Is that the annexation we were just talking about?
No, this
Number
is,
14? Not slide 14.
oh, I'm
number
sorry,
14.
I'm sorry, my bad. I thought you said.
What page are you on?
It doesn't have a page.
W1?
Oh,
You wanted the bottom.
Oh, W1.
Yeah, that one.
That is correct. So again, this is moving 59 single-family dwellings onto the property with an SDAT for no planned service with priority W3 added the 14 gallons to move it into, I think it's into priority, it's a W3 is now. The service provider is W3, which is basically a priority water area. So that would mean that once we have an approved site plan, it would then move into W1 once it gets adopted, and the water allocation is secured.
Is the 59 based on R1? Why does it say 59 single-family dwelling units?
Yeah, that should only be 50. But yeah, so that's based on the R1 zoning for the 50. I guess it should be 50, because our R1 is 40,000, so if an acre is 43,560, so it might be 59.
But the bottom line is that it's being projected to have single-family dwelling units on it because it's R1?
Correct.
Okay.
Right, but to that point, they would still have to provide the 25%, so they have to do a cluster subdivision. So I'm not sure if 59 is really a key number, is I guess what I would
No, I
respond to that.
was just wondering why there were any.
Yeah, because it's under R1 and it's 51 acres. So I understand what you're asking, though. Why is it showing any houses? But it could be single-family homes, or it could be townhouses, it could be,
and you're putting it into W3 because of the time range.
well, the time lane, and also that we currently have a plan under review. Or no, we don't have a plan under review, but it's going through annexation. If it were to be annexed and we start working on a site plan and we get through a concept plan, we might be doing a spring amendment to put it into W1.
To W1, which
Right.
is existing.
Exactly.
Gotcha. I follow. I track with you. Okay.
It wouldn't be townhouse.
No, it wouldn't be at that point if we're working on a site plan for the elite baseball.
Okay. Are there any others like this where it's kind of,
That is the only one, I think, that really, that was really impactful. I mean, there were some other that are sort of parcels that are sort of, there was some confusing, some of the maps were incorrect from the previous master plan, which we're basically updating them to make sure that they're at the right S1 or W1 or W3.
did you do anything with the little sliver that got annexed into town?
Yeah, so that's in priority as well, the 1.4 acres off of Pankland. Yep.
Which number is that?
Let me see if I can find that real quick. That's it, this right here. This is the little sliver you speak of here. This, of course, is the Beck property.
Right.
Which again, is actually existing as well. You can't tell the difference in colors. You can kind of see it from here to there. Well, excuse me, no. So this is existing where the Seventh-day Adventist is, but the Beck property is in priority. All of Pankland is in priority. This is all Backacre Circle. This is Lot 15, which we've seen in front of you guys with the concept plan and a potential subdivision plan that'll be in front of you again here soon. This is the open space this is Brittany Manor. So that's all in W1, which is existing.
And the mobile home?
So the mobile home park is an odd character because it is outside the corporate limits. This might be added in the future. I can try zooming in on that. It doesn't look to be in existing or priority because it's outside our corporate limits. Normally, we don't provide water or sewer to the outside of the corporate limits, but this is being mandated by MDE.
So is it included in the plan that we're providing them water?
I don't think it's in this plan.
I think it should be, right? So that we get
Well,
our,
no, because it's being mandated by the state. I understand what you're asking.
as a calculation of.
I can look in,
yeah.
I can reach out to Claire and ask her about that. But I don't know if you have any inputs on that, Barney, I don't know.
I think it is in the plan of the water service area.
Okay,
It may already be in the plan, you're saying.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be.
we couldn't extend service, as you're saying. So it must be an existing then, or at least W3.
That's something that we had to get council approval back. I forget the exact date, but to verify that they were in agreement with doing that.
Right, I'll also make sure that that is shown on our map so that Claire has the correct information.
I think it is shown as part of the priority water service area.
But as to Commissioner Wallace's question about the PANK section, I think that's either number 19 or number
I think it's
22.
21, I think, right? So
Or is it 21?
21, because it was outside the corporate limits and now it's been annexed.
Oh, that would make sense. There was a house on that
It's an
annexation.
existing house dwelling, again.
One family, that's right. Okay. So that 21 is that wedge you addressed
I'm
or asked
thinking
about?
so, yes.
Gotcha. I remember that. Okay. Okay, any other specific questions or areas within the town? So Green Tree, did we move Green Tree into W1 existing?
I think that was in existing.
Was that already there?
Yeah, because it was, it's been annexed in the town for a while, so
Right.
it's had,
Okay,
it's either W3 or W1. Again,
okay.
I don't think it shows the one here, but
Well, yeah, clearly it should be W1 at this stage, I believe.
yes, that's this parcel right here.
Correct. So it's already in there?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
So can you explain number 16?
16, sure. Remove 211 single-family dwellings. I'm thinking that's the back property, yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's what that is.
So you're removing it from existing?
Well, because we don't currently have an adopted plan.
Right.
So normally, the existing is an existing plan or an approved plan. So currently, we don't have a plan on that that's been approved, and you can kind of see the difference in colors.
Yeah.
So Backacre Circle is in dark blue, this is in light blue. So yeah, so right now, so basically what that does is it removes, it adds those gallons per day back into Barney's flow chart that we approve every 2 years or 3 years, Barney? Every 2 years, and I think it's up for that soon. Yeah, January. So that'll be something that'll be coming back in front of you guys.
And John, I don't mean to take us backwards, but with regard to the mobile home park off of Twin Arch, is that something we're looking into? Is that what we concluded, or?
Yeah, that's what I wrote it down here. I'll reach out. We'll
Okay.
look at it tomorrow, and I'll make sure it's either in W1 or W3, which would be priority, I'm thinking it's probably W3 because we actually haven't provided water
Okay.
to them yet.
Okay,
Is how I would say it's probably in our plan and potentially their plan.
okay. In the worst case, would you have to add an amendment onto this, or?
Yeah, but I don't think so. If we had
Okay.
to, we could have her do an adjustment before
Okay.
she submits it for final approval by Carroll County prior to sending it to
Okay.
the state.
If we added a condition on any motion by a commissioner that we relook the mobile home?
You could do that if you want to.
Okay.
Sure.
Again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to all the hard work, but again, it's a good point brought up by Commissioner Wallace, so, okay.
I applaud her.
And I think we settled the question with regard to the Pank wedge.
Yes. That's in W3, which is priority.
Gotcha, gotcha. We settled the question with regard to moving backwards from W1 existing W3 for the Beck property.
Yes,
We settled that, so we're going to move that to the out years.
yep.
Pretty much everything else is moving it into existing W1, I think.
Right, or some might be moving from
W6,
future to, or W5 to W3, which is priority.
closer time frame.
Correct.
Yeah, less time frame, whatever.
Go ahead.
Where's the shiny shell in this?
It's an existing, and it's probably not on here because it's an existing site plan that's been approved and has paid for their
They have-
EDUs and more EDUs.
They have a water allocation.
Yeah, they already have a water allocation and an advanced allocation as well.
Have we adjusted the water allocation based on the additional use that they had beyond what we thought they would?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Yep.
interesting, okay. So proceeding, are we confident in these amendments, given all this interaction and certain examples? With that then, I am going to make the motion, Commissioners, that the Planning Commission certifies the 2025 Fall Amendment List to the 2023 Carroll County Water and Sewer Master Plan, with the condition that there is a relook into the requirement or not for an amendment regarding the mobile home track
Yep.
off of Twin Arch Road, as presented in the staff report, the amendments as presented in the staff report. So let me say that once again. I am making a motion to approve and certify the list of 2025 fall amendments that will go to the 2023 Carroll County Water and Sewer Master Plan, with the condition to research the mobile home park off Twin Arch Road, period. Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Commissioner Beta seconds. Any further discussion or questions about the list of amendments? Questions to Barney, John, Jared, anybody? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion with the condition stated, all say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? So the motion passes. I will sign this, Deborah and John.
Thank you.
And now we move to reports and other business. I'm closing that agenda item, moving to reports and other business, beginning with Councilman Sean Kelly on the last council activity.
Okay, thank you. This will be a quick one. Town Council met on October 6th. Two ordinances and resolutions to note. The ordinance to increase water and sewer rates was discussed. Ultimately, the council postponed the vote and asked town staff for a projection of annual budget shortfalls in order to evaluate whether 8% increases each of the next 3 years is the correct rate of increase. After much discussion, the council voted against amending Chapter 4 of the 2023 Master Plan in a 4-1 vote. And that's all I have. The next town council meeting will be November 3rd. Any questions?
Any questions to Sean on that news? Okay, thanks so much. John, you have the zoning administrator report, and as I usually do, I'll just turn to any highlights you want to kind of focus on, or any questions on his report from the commissioners?
Nothing to add from me.
Nothing to add?
I have one question.
Sure, go ahead.
Curiosity mainly. What business is 209 East Ridgeville Boulevard getting a $1.5 million remodel? I'm excited about that. What is that? What's that going to be? Is that the hair salon? With the build out? It seems that's.
I don't know that right off the top of my head, but I can get that answer for you.
It's just curiosity. That's it.
I don't have my phone in front of me to search on the
209 East Ridgeville, I thought that was.
209 East Ridgeville.
East Ridgeville.
Let's Google.
I can't get enough of a signal to get a map up.
That's Walmart. Isn't it Walmart?
That is, you're right, it is Walmart, because they're doing exterior and they're doing some interior, right.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Sweet.
Nothing like a fancy Walmart.
Cost was 1.5.
No, she's saying, what did we charge for those fees?
Oh, what were the fees? Yep.
Gotcha.
We need to review our fees, that's for sure.
You do need to review your fees.
Yes, they're very low.
Yes.
Very low, yeah. Nothing else from zoning administrator, then I'll announce the next planning commission meeting is on November 24th, here in Town Hall at 7:30 PM. Last call down the line, down the dais. Any last issues? Seeing and hearing none, then I am going to adjourn this meeting. It is now 10:09 PM. Thank you for your time.